Order, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I guess, are we talking?
Yeah.
again for the-
Good morning, all. I just going to move towards the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I call in question. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, no. Rick Farr has an excused absence today, so he will not be with us. I'm going to start with my president's message. On behalf of the entire board of directors, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to each of our department heads for your hard work and dedication in preparing this year's budget. Your leadership and collaboration have been a key in creating a financial plan that sets us up for success for the year ahead. I want to personally acknowledge all of our department heads: Steve Phillips, General Administration; Ruth Ann, Finance, IT, and Membership; Josh Davis, PR and Marketing; Linda Martin, the GM Office and CPI; Eddie Wells and Nobi Violante, General Maintenance, Public Works, Bulkheads, and Marina; Joe Enstey and Joey Widgeon, our Fire Department; Chief Tim Robinson, our amazing Police Department; Debbie Donahue, Parks and Rec; Terry Underkoffler, Racket Sports; Michelle Hitchens, Aquatics; Bob Beckelman, and Justin Hartshorn, Golf Operations. Your efforts in ensuring that your respective departments' needs and goals were accurately and reflected in this budget have not gone unnoticed. The careful consideration you've given to balancing resources and priorities is evident, and it reflects your deep commitment to the community's growth and well-being. A special thank you goes to our General Manager, John Viola. Your guidance and oversight have been invaluable throughout this process. Your leadership has made a significant impact on how smoothly everything has come together, and we're incredibly grateful for your expertise and dedication for making sure this year's budget reflects both our current needs and future goals. We recognize the budget preparation process is time-consuming and a complex task. We truly appreciate the hard work and collaboration each of you has brought to the table. Thanks to your combined efforts, we are confident that our community is on a strong financial path for the year ahead. Once again, thank you for all of your outstanding contributions, your dedication to our community, and your professionalism. They're deeply appreciated. We're going to move forward with public comments. Being that this is a special meeting of the board, comments related to the agenda items for the meeting will be allowed. Comments on other topics must be brought up at our next regular meeting on January 25th. Comments are only limited to 5 minutes. Do we have anybody online that wants to make a public comment?
Hi, good morning.
Please state your name and your address, and you're limited to a maximum of 5 minutes.
Good morning. This is Amy Pack, 109 White Horse Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to allow hybrid comments with the weather today. My comment is regarding racket sports. At the previous budget, it was proposed a 25% increase. This is in contrast to a 10% increase for marinas, despite marina slips being $1,000 less in Ocean Pines than other area marinas. I now see in the new budget that individual memberships for racket sports have been eliminated. Members will be forced to buy a combo sport. Despite the average age of the Racket Center members being 74 years of age, most members at the Racket Sports Center cannot play 3 sports and will be forced into this higher tier membership. I believe this is going to have an adverse effect on revenue, and I'm asking that the board can reconsider changing the long-standing membership structure at the Racket Sports. Thank you.
Are there any public comments? Seeing no more public comments, I'm going to close the floor to public comments, and we're going to move forward to the general manager's budget presentation. John?
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you to the board and everybody else and the people of Ocean Pines. We have assembled our department heads. We will do a complete review of the budget as the board needs. As you know, we've already gone through budget and finance. But I will start off with the GM comment, like I did with budget and finance. I do want to say, I did read the progress. A lot of that was captured properly with the financials and all that stuff. So always good to see that stuff so that the people of Ocean Pines have many avenues where they can get information. So with that said, I've talked all year. I've talked about this as a pivot year. And as you can see, with the assessment, there is a slight increase or modest, as was said in the paper. We're trying to achieve balance. And balance won't happen in 1 year. It will happen over the next several years. When we do the pricing, when Steve goes through the pricing for the racket sports, we'll show that where we're trying to meet our expenses, we realize that sometimes the percentages might be too high, and we have a plan over 3 years, kind of like what we've been doing with golf. So you'll see that. There is a detailed plan on the pricing. There is a pricing book, and we'll go through all that on the approach again. Just want to talk about, again, what we've done over the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. We've increased our spend on drainage, maintenance, renovations, invested in our staff, covered the deficit, increased reserves. And we continue to do that and put back for this assessment because we know what's also coming down the line, specifically the DMA study. And we'll talk more about that, answer any questions, as well as the funding for the firehouse. A decision that was made, I believe the right decision, but it was something that was not funded over the years in our reserves. So we are looking at that and taking that into account. Where are we today? Well, we have a stronger balance sheet, turnkey amenities as I've proclaimed them, and we will increase the renovation and maintenance in that. As I've said, we have a competitive police compensation policy. We are investing in the Ocean Pines Volunteer Fire Department apparatus. And of course, that is all, the firehouse is continued on a referendum. In summary, like everyone else, we have increased costs, specifically safety, statutory wages, insurance, offset by efficiencies and improved amenities. One thing I just asked Steve before we started off that I didn't mention last time, with the 875 proposed assessment, if I look back 4 years ago when the assessment was 996, we're still 12% less than it was then, and as well as 6 years ago when the assessment was 986. So we continue to use that base year, at least I do, and we still are getting more for less of an assessment. With that said, Stuart, if you'd like, I'd like to go on to the General Manager's Office. General Administration. Steve.
Yep. Okay, so general admin, that's where our assessment revenues are captured. You can see that we have the $25 increase that's proposed. That's in our assessment revenue and the reason for the difference versus the estimate. The reserve contribution has gone up significantly. I'll get into that when we get into the reserve section later on in the presentation. Other, I guess, notables is we were able to take up our right-of-way fees, which you can see there listed as franchise fees. We're able to take that up $30,000 based on the trending that we've had in that revenue stream. So that was a positive effect on the assessment. We did change in this rendition the interest income. So we had $500,000 in there at the BNF last week. We did increase that to $550,000. You will also see that in the reserve schedule when I go through later. So that's on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, other payroll costs, that's the FMLI fees that we need to start accruing beginning on July 1st, 2025 this year. So that's 10 months worth. Other notables is we were able to take the contract services down significantly. Most of the contract services in this budget organization relates to IT fees. We were able to save a lot of money in not having our vendor AirSpring on board this year. We were able to find a network solution in, I believe it was called Unify, or is the correct term, but that was an internal solution. We were able to reduce contract services about $30,000. Insurance, that's where we have increases built in for this coming year based on the market trends. There's been really recently, the last couple of years, property insurance specifically has gone up due to a lot of different catastrophes and et cetera. That's been driving that. So we have $50,000 included over and above last year in this year's budget.
Any questions from the board?
John, can I ask just a quick question? We got a packet this morning when we came in. Reflecting, I assume, changes from the budget and finance session. Would it be helpful if you could highlight differences between what we got in the binder and what we got in the packet this morning?
Sure, yeah, and Steve, you're right, and I should have started off with that, but good point. And Steve will jump in. At the top, the biggest ones was and we heard from the outside, somebody mentioned, we did get feedback on a one price in the racket sports, which we've talked about for over a year. I had it coming in over a 3-year period. We were asked to show the one price, but show over a 3-year period the gradual increase to get to a budget that will offset operating expenses. So that's a big one. Interest income. We received feedback on interest income from Jack, who has a big background in banking. Steve and I did take that into account, like I said I would. We did that. There was some fine tuning on our end, as far as expense allocation. We tried to make sure the amenities have the expense that applies to that amenity, specifically expenses that committees have asked for us to increase, which we have. So we made sure that something like that did happen, and we've been doing that continued. Steve, anything else that you want to add?
No, we did increase the reserves a little bit to general
Good point.
replacement contribution.
And I mentioned that in the initial comments, but we did. Steve constantly monitors the reserves, the percentages, and we believe, and we have done a lot of constructive spend. So we are trying to get the reserves at a level that we'd like to see going into the DMA study.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Hey, John, or Steve, just a quick question. Can you remind me franchise fees, where that revenue comes in from?
Right away.
Yeah, it comes in from both Comcast and MediaCom. Based
Right
on
away,
the
actually.
Gotcha. That's what I thought. Thank you.
contractual, yeah.
Yeah, and that's been consistent over the years.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
I just have a question again, just going back to the interest income, because I want to make sure I understand that, because that's kind of a big hit. And so we're not able to get the fees for that on some of the credit cards that people are putting their expenses on. Are we stopping doing that? I just want to understand exactly what we're doing with that.
Okay, so this is a good point to clarify it, Lane, but two different topics on that. And what I was talking about with the interest income is the interest that we will receive, or we do receive, on our cash.
Got it.
The interest
Okay.
that gets allocated to the reserves based upon our reserve cash, our operations, and that. Now, the second thing, this is a question that's definitely warranted. You're asking about the convenience fees. I mean, I'll leave it up to Steve if he wants to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. I'm going to let Steve talk about that. We did have situations during the year. So Steve, why don't you tell us how we handle the convenience fees in this budget?
Yeah, so we actually typically have a 3.5% convenience fee just on the assessments. Basically, we've talked to legal counsel because there's been some precedents in the courts about being able to charge convenience fees, and they need to follow a certain guideline. So there's a couple recommendations, I believe, that came back. One of those recommendations was to do away with convenience fees. So from this budget standpoint, I did not include any income coming in for convenience fees. The only thing you'll see there is the credit card expenses, which you can see the credit card expenses in admin is related to membership and POA, property assessments.
Steve, don't those fees wash out the 3.5% that we collect? That's how much we pay. So it's actually basically a wash.
I mean, it was, yeah. So it was an average. We actually we actually worked contractually with our credit card processor to get some favorable fees for this upcoming budget. We were paying probably a little bit more than 3.5%. But I guess we're only doing it on assessments, only doing it on membership, so it wasn't company-wide. And then based on this budget, we're not gonna have a wash.
And that's what Steve originally talked. That was what he was saying. Anybody else? A good question. Linda, what's next? Finance, membership, and IT, Steve and Ruth Ann Myers. Steve?
Okay, so finance, we have, as it says up top, it's IT. From an HR standpoint, we actually decreased our payroll, so our HR position is now a independent contractor, so that's in contractual services. And then, of course, we have the membership department that Ruth Ann runs. Accounting, which we have our accounts payable processor, and then, of course, we have in the room Mark Swift, our assistant controller. Then we also have an accountant one. So combination of all those salaries, most of the expenses is in payroll based on those positions. Like I said, there is a decrease. We go from 875K to 827K, and that's the elimination of our HR and payroll manager. But then we do increase our contractual services from 32K up to 70K. So that represents the independent contractor agreement that we have for our new HR consultant. And that's pretty much the story on expenses. On the revenue side, we do sell some merchandise up at the front desk. And then we also have our main source of revenue is transfer fees. And we are proposing to increase transfer fees $50 from $150 to $200. And so I put in an additional $5,000 in the proposed budget for revenue stream.
Any questions?
John, I think I may have asked this last week also. The utilities is always going to be an allocation across the departments.
Yes. We do have
Okay.
some that have meters. This is a good point to talk about also now. Obviously with food and beverage, some of the meters cover the marina or the pools or whatever, so those have allocations. So basically, overall, the answer is yes. But there may be some that have their own meter. Yep.
Yep.
Any other questions? Hey, what's up next?
Fly through this.
Marketing. I'll be there in a second.
She's saying.
Okay, so Josh Davis is in the room. You may not be able to see him. Josh is ready, and I just want to see, and look, this goes for all departments and everything. Every department did everything that I asked for during this budget, during the year. I did ask Josh to try to increase revenue, which I believe he and his team has done. So with that, Josh, jump in. I'm sorry, it's Linda. Josh has a little bit of a cold.
Okay, public relations, as he said it, the revenue has increased to 76,000. Expenses, are up a little higher to 170,000. Services, supplies, 98,000. Repairs and maintenance, that 2,500. Utilities, 4,700. And total other costs, 54,950.
And then the, excuse me,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Monica.
and some of that increase in the expenses due to the pine cast, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, podcast.
So there should be an offset, Josh, there should be an offset to that. Josh, why don't you tell me what you did to do that?
Correct. We got
Awesome.
Title Health as our sponsor for that, so we actually have about a $2,000 profit on that.
Great, thank you.
Elaine?
I just have a question on the advertising sales. We've got
Yeah.
an estimate of 75,000 coming in for the current year, correct?
Correct.
And so we're budgeting 7,000. I mean, it's a small amount, but is there a reason that we're putting in less money for 2026 budget?
Yeah, it
Is
just
there
feels like
like-
we're overperforming a little bit. Nancy's doing a great job selling ads. We were at $30,000 5 years ago. So we'll lose a couple of full page ads every month, and then Nancy will go in and find a way to hit the numbers, and she's been beating them a little bit. I don't know that that's sustainable, which is why we're more in line with last year's budget projection than the estimate for the current fiscal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Steve?
just a quick question. Josh, on the page dealing with, elected budget details, I'm just sort of curious. It says, under marketing mix, letter J, Ocean Pines Forum digital ads.
Yeah.
Are we buying ads in our own forum? I don't quite understand what that is.
That's Joe Reynolds' forum. It's the
That's Joe
digital
Reynolds.
ads you see at the top of Joe's
Oh,
forum.
right, I'm sorry, yep.
And those are generally clickable links to our programs, our website, things like that.
Right,
Yep,
right, okay.
we're not paying
Good, thanks.
ourselves for our own ads.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Let's move on.
On to the general manager's office, which is tab 3. General manager's office, wages and benefits, 383,867, up just with the normal, merit increase. Services and supplies goes to 10,520, slight increase from the 2025 budget. Utilities, 11,300, pretty much flat for the utilities as far as the last year. And other costs at 3,650.
Elaine?
Why is there a big jump? You may have discussed this in another area, but the workman's comp insurance, why is such a huge jump on that?
It's right here.
Well, I'm showing that we're
64.
estimated at about 6,200 and we're budgeting 17,000.
Retirement.
That's retirement. That's retirement.
Oh, retirement.
Right. Yeah, we just trued
Oh,
up the
all right.
expense,
Yeah,
trued up the
yeah,
expenses
retirement.
based on experience, so,
I'm sorry,
based
yeah.
on the contributions in there within the GM office, it's showing up. as
Gotcha.
What we, you know,
I'm sorry, yeah, and I was looking at the wrong one. Okay.
John?
Hey, Steve, the recent conversation that we had for the FMLI, does that hit one of the lines here? Have we built that in or? Are we
Yeah, so I
built in
mentioned
this
that-
budget cycle?
yeah, as I mentioned back in the general admin, but
Oh,
good
okay,
point.
sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
I
it's,
missed that.
it's in that other payroll cost, so it's budgeted at a high level. At this point, it's not blown back to
Perfect.
the.
Thank you.
individual payments. Yep.
So Steve, what was the estimate about that? 30, how much did we estimate that to be?
It's 21,000 and change. That's, it's 10 months worth, so.
Yeah, 30,000.
Yeah.
So I heard somebody, maybe it was somebody, right, said 30,000, just to keep track of whatever, that's like $3, $4 on the assessment when you just, as we constantly look at the $25. So John, I'm gonna point out more stuff later.
Okay. No more questions. We'll move on to the next.
Next one is CPI.
CPI, yeah.
6.
6.
Start.
I should have brought a ruler like you did.
I can't see. I like, yes, Mr.
Hey,
McGoo.
Okay,
Thank you.
General Manager's Office.
Support ready?
CPI. Yeah, we're ready. Go ahead.
Okay.
Total revenues, 187,520. We based that upon the estimate for this year. Resales are starting to pick back up, compared to what was in previous years. Wages and benefits, 266,250. That is a merit increase, and with that one open position, that we will be filling shortly. Services and supplies, 74,050. It's pretty much, compared to what was actual for last year, a little slight decrease. Auto truck is 400. Utilities, 10,600, slight increase, but that's within every department. And insurance is at 3,150 with a total operating cost of 354,480.
John,
Hey, Linda, on the payroll, that I just hear you say we have an open position. Is that a full-time or part-time position
It's
that we're
a
trying to
part-time.
help?
Yeah, we have a part-time position. We did have someone show interest. So we plan
Good.
to interview that person next week.
Perfect. Thank you.
anybody else? No more questions? All right, then we're gonna move on to, you wanna just, I mean, we're really going fast through this. Do you need to take a break? Anybody need a bio break?
I just,
right, we'll continue on.
So we are waiting for, and you're right, we are ahead, we're waiting for Public Works, whatever. In the meantime, I'd like to just take 2 minutes, some stuff that I held off in case we did have some break time on this, if that's okay.
Go ahead, John.
Great. So going back, like, this is something that really should be spoken about, and I always do this. Steve does it, Linda, everybody. We reconcile to whatever increases, decreases, and we try to understand and highlight what caused them. So if we look at the assessment, we look at what was different, and if anybody wants more detail, I'll let Steve do it. But if you look at the assessment and all the things that we mentioned, all the new items this year, or the increases or whatever, it came out to, and again, this is just a reconciliation, it came out to $125 that the assessment would have went up if everything else was equal. We then looked at, and you've seen this, and this will come up when we do the food and beverage operating profit or the budget for food and beverage. That 125 was taken down by a budget that we're proposing for food and beverage, which is favorable to last year of $18. So you subtract that from the 125 increase, the amenity pricing increases, that was $42. The efficiencies and organic revenue, which we continue to have and show, that would be more volume versus the pricing. That was $38. So that kind of brings you down to around 100 minus from the 125 gives you the $25 increase. So we do have that information. It's all clear for everybody. And that's all I wanted to tell this board on that. So if you want to take a break, Stuart, we're good here to take a break. Or if you have any questions on that. That's a big piece of
Anybody have any questions? The only thing I want to note is that even with the increased spend across the board in every area of what we do, we're not doing too bad here. We're building stuff, we're maintaining infrastructure. And after it's all said and done, we're only looking at a $25 increase with all this massive extra spend. I think we're sitting on a pretty good footing there. On to our next order of business. You ready, John? You got Public Works?
We have Public Works here, Eddie Wells here, and before he starts, and believe me, I can say this across the board, and I'm not just saying it because Eddie's in here. I've been around here for over 25 years. Compliments to Public Works, to Eddie, his entire team. I was out there, I saw what they did all night, all day. I thought the roads were the best that I've ever seen. You know, I remember 2010, 11 or whatever, that big storm. I'm being honest, my opinion, they did a great job. And
Yeah, they did.
I sent you all an email. Congratulations. I don't know if you got it, Eddie, but
we did.
Yeah, thank
job
you.
well done. Job well done.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Got a lot of road.
That's a good opening. Let's see how your numbers are. Yeah. All right, Eddie. What number, Linda?
Tab 8.
Number 7, I'm gonna read.
Okay, we're in tab 7.
7.
Gonna read. Team effort. Was that general maintenance?
It's
General
just one thing, and he's there.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no equipment place.
Okay, total wages and benefits, 421,402. Slight decrease from last year due to a reallocation of an employee to aquatics, which you'll see later on. Services and supplies, 39,950, same as budgeted as last year. Repairs and maintenance, 212,000, again, based upon last year. Total utilities, 14,100, slight increase as stated earlier with other departments as well. And total other costs, 7,950, a slight decrease over last year.
Let me just jump in, Linda. So one of the things that's different, and I mentioned again in the beginning, is there have been requests, demands, whatever way you want to classify it, for maintenance in the different amenities, or specifically we want a person, or they want a person full-time, which we have done. And we've done that. It's in this budget, and it was in the last budget. When it was that just general maintenance or general type of things, we've kind of kept that in Public Works, and we still will. But when that number becomes a big number, now we're allocating it to the amenities, and that's pretty much across the board. So that is something different. That is one of the differences. We fine-tuned that, Steve and I, and some department heads from the last meeting. So that's, and obviously there's going to be an offset at times, if not all the times, in the Public Works general maintenance budget. Eddie? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question on general repairs and maintenance. You've allocated $210,000, and but year to date as of is 5,200. I mean, why are we allocating that much money when we haven't really used that much? It's been like 18,000, 20,000, and we're allocating 210,000. Is this more of a Steve question?
I think it takes.
We can't hear you, John.
Yeah, I see what he's
I
saying.
can't hear you.
He's looking, he's talking to them.
If you look underneath of it, I think it's just a combination of all those expenses.
Yeah, but that would be on the same line. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, yeah, or he did touch on that.
I think his answer the last time was, you don't
Okay,
know
so the
what's
GM's
gonna.
going to talk whenever the board allows the GM will answer this.
Yeah, the GMA.
It's a good question, Stuart, and this, I know you're new on the board or whatever. This goes back 6 years. I think it was the Frank Daly mantra on the board, and credit to that board and every board afterwards, and the good people of Ocean Pines, where we said we were going to do maintenance of 200,000 in that area. We've increased it. When you look at the one line, and look, this is on us and the way we present and everything, but you got to look at the total. And Mark's pointing out to me that the total, right now, we're at about 125,000.
120.
So you gotta look at the whole thing. You know, the budgeted was on one line, but the detail is over 125,000 and will probably be higher. So we have spent that each year pretty close. Now, with that said, and I've heard that even in BNF, and we've talked about it, you know, sometimes I have a shift because when we renovate or we build new, obviously then, you know, there's an increase in spend there. And we've kept that 200,000 and we've been close. In no way is it that we budget 200,000 and spend 5,000. It hasn't been that over the years. But good question. Anything you want to add, anybody else?
Yeah, no, and we'll burn the rest of that easily because in the spring is when everything opens, all the facilities.
Right.
So we'll have a lot of maintenance issues that'll be taken care of over the next couple of months before they open, which will make that number go higher.
Right, and we've seen that over the years. I think it was last year and the year before. We did major maintenance on all the restrooms.
Yes.
So we target something and we do that. So a lot of it, as Eddie said, is still gonna happen over the next 3-4 months.
Okay, I just didn't know how it was allocated.
Yeah, no, good question.
Okay. Yeah, John?
Just an observation, a good one. When you look at payroll, overtime, and contract service, look like you guys have done a phenomenal job of balancing that. So if you need something, you know, I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that, because when you look at it, looks like you guys do a really good job at kind of, hey, if you need to bring in someone from the outside for asphalt replacement or something like that. I know that personally, just because you guys did some down by the by Mumford's ramp, but just great job on kind of balancing that.
Yeah, that's where John has been real helpful to the team. I mean, he's allowed us to, took our advice, and if we say we cannot do it in-house or we need help, he's allowed us to do it and given us the ability to do that. But yeah, our guys can do a lot, but we can't do everything.
Yeah, and we have
Right,
relied
no.
on contract
Yeah,
services.
appreciate that. Yeah.
We've relied on contract services for maintenance. Those restrooms that I mentioned, I mean, Public Works was fully engaged on many projects. We brought in outside people that we've had success with, and we will continue to utilize those companies.
Good, nice job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to, thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Nomi. Again, great job with this massive storm that you guys took care of this week. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
I'll let the team know.
Okay, ready for the fire department?
No, it's Public Works.
Public Works, we got a couple more.
Public Works.
Public Works, I'm sorry. All right, let's go Public Works. Tab 8.
Linda's gonna do Public Works, Stuart. Eddie's here to answer all questions.
Okay,
Total revenue is 145,000 for county roads. Expenses 889,639. That is a slight decrease from last year's budget. Services and supplies 263,100, same as last year. Repairs and maintenance 320,000, a slight decrease over last year. Total utilities 100,200. And other costs 69,005. Making total operating costs 1,641,944.
That's not a decrease, that was an increase, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
Okay. I thought you said.
yeah, Elaine?
I just have a question on the county roads. Is that the amount that we get paid from either the casinos or the county, or I'm not quite sure what that number is, because it's a bit of a jump. And so I don't know where that money's coming from.
Yeah.
On the revenue?
Steve, yeah, Steve's gonna answer. Elaine, good question.
Yeah, no, that's actually the state funding for roads, so it's not the casino money. This has trended up the last several years as well. You can see in 2023, we had 142,000. So based on the latest information we have, we believe we can recognize that revenue for 2026, which we made the decision to take it up. But the casino revenue that you're alluding to is actually in general administration. We took that up as well to 500,000.
Okay. And I guess why then, or I guess I'm just wondering why the additional $22,000 is, where's that coming from?
Based on the formula, yeah, I got you. The estimate number probably should be higher for 2025, and that's the reality.
Gotcha.
We should probably put that number up to about 145,000.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So Elaine, I just, one of the questions I get a lot, and we've gotten is, and Eddie help us out, is the road cuts. How does that work? Somebody comes in, cuts up our roads, do we get reimbursed, and if so, how?
They're responsible for fixing them themselves on that. The county, if you see, 90% of the cuts in here, if not more, are the county where they've done water or sewer lines, because that's everything all underground and on the shoulders. They are responsible for fixing them and repairing them. When we do our road study and evaluation every year, we make a list of every road cut in here that has not been done, and that goes to the county as well. So they will follow up with them to make sure they haven't missed any. They cut it so many times, we've given them a list before, and they're like, oh, we forgot about those, or yep, we forgot to do that one. So when we do our road evaluation, we give them a list, comes out of their budget, they pay to have their contractor come in and fix them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then the overall, the budget for Public Works, I believe, was a decrease from last year's budget. Steve explained that. I talked a little bit about it too. We've allocated out to the different amenities where the numbers were substantial. So net is zero on the association, but we're trying to ensure that we allocate the expenses appropriately when it's a big number, as opposed to just a couple $1,000 here or there. Okay.
Anything else, guys? All right, we're moving on to
What is it?
Bulkheads,
Bulkheads.
number 9. Okay. Total revenue, from bulkhead reserve, 1,199,091. Expenses, 121,647, increase over last year's budget. Services supplies, 12,250. That is an increase over last year's month budget due to the rental of 9,000. Repairs and maintenance, 1,057,884, same as budgeted last year. Utilities, 5,300, and total other costs, 2,000.
2,000 linear feet.
Yes.
So we continue 2,000 linear feet. That's been our plan. We've stuck by it. It's somewhere like, if we say that, it's last 45, 50 years, we got something like 92,000 linear feet. So that's been consistent. We've done that for years. The price was consistent with the prior year. We did have some emergency work, and we have work going on right now, which is scheduled to be done by Memorial Day.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons we do 2,000 feet. That's what we can get done in the timeline. We try to be done by Memorial Weekend.
Okay, so that's important, Stuart, the board, what Eddie just pointed out. We saw this 4 years ago where we were very aggressive and we couldn't get done by Memorial Day. The feedback we've received, look, there's always one or two or whatever, was, hey, get all that equipment out of here before the season starts. And we've done that. We do have equipment out there, not a lot. We do try to minimize it. We do get feedback. I've gotten probably 20 calls over the last 2 weeks. How many people? One. One person who, but we have addressed it, is what I want to try to tell. But with that said, what I'm saying is, there's a cost when we have to constantly address that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying we don't or we shouldn't, but there is a cost to that's adding up within the bulkhead budget.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, John?
Hey,
Yep.
John, in our strategic plan there, I think you have a couple years, like what that plan looks like for the 2000 for the next couple years. Is that correct? Or at least directionally, you
Yeah,
have
so
an idea where, what
No,
area.
this is good because, John, I like, let's tie it to that. Maybe we should also tie to the strategic plan. You're right. We definitely have at least 5 years out all the
We
time.
actually permitted 3
Gotcha.
years.
That's what I thought.
And Eddie's, I don't know if you can hear Eddie, we're permitted out 3 years, which is pretty good. Yeah, and so, and like I said, 2,000 linear feet, that's the plan, with 45, 50-year useful life. And we are trying to build up that reserve a little bit for emergency spend, which is why in this budget. Good. Yep.
John, is there I'm sorry.
And just one last question, John, that kind of go hand in, that's different than the dredging, plan though, right? The dredging plan is different, which I
dredging's
think
totally
is similar, right? There's a plan for it.
Dredging is done by individual homeowners. Now, we check the canals. I don't think I've been here 20 some years now. I don't think we ever dredged a canal. Ruthann, you've been here longer.
Nope.
We've never had to dredge a canal. The canals have always been deep enough. The problems are right in front of people's boat lifts and docks.
Right.
So it's individual by resident has to put in an application. It goes to Army Corps of Engineers, it goes to the state, goes to the county. They're the ones that decide whether they get dredged or not. It's not whether the resident says, yes, I need it dredged, you may not. We just had some come back last year that lived on Boston, and the state came in, Army Corps said, no more dredging on Boston, period. So any applications come there, we have to tell the residents, sorry, I know you can't get your boat out, but it's not us. So our hands are tied on that kind of stuff. But it's a process. We take, I think it's 25 applications is what we do. We can handle a year. So we take up 25, and then you would go on the next year. If you're number 26, you'd be the first one on the following year.
And that's part of the 50,000 that's put in the budget. There's 50,000 on in the
That pays to
detail.
actually have the dredge. Yeah, that pays for processing the permits and actually having the dredging done.
Right. So if I
Do
may
we
just,
collect those fees back?
actually, John, I'm glad you said that. I was just gonna say that. When I was on the other side of the equation, I thought, and like he mentioned, those are individual boat slips or whatever. I thought when I was on the other side in BNF that we did get reimbursed. No, and I'm glad you said it or asked that question. That expense is borne by the entire association.
Yeah.
In the assessment.
And
Good question.
Elaine?
Yeah, just as a follow-up, because I remember when we were looking at this earlier, that 50,000, that it's really more a thing of timing and permitting. So while the number looks low this year, those permits really are coming in for the next year. Is that correct?
It takes probably about a year to get permits. And
Yeah,
they were
okay.
backed up as much as last year because of COVID. We didn't even get the 2019 approvals and 2020s until like last year. So they're
Okay,
still
so
backed up to
that
the
it's
state.
based on getting permits this year. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the total operating costs. The 2025 budget was at 1.177. Year to date is 5.3. So I assume we're gonna be doing more before the end of the fiscal year. But it's also, the estimate is about $30,000 less than what was budgeted. Is this just a savings, or are we slowing down, or?
Budget we're in this year was 2,220 feet. Next year is 2,000. So there's your difference. That's a little bit of savings. We're not doing as many feet.
Right, so the first part of that, correct, we're still gonna be doing a lot, as I mentioned, by Memorial Day. Look, it's not an exact, because obviously it depends on the bulkheads of the area we're in and the size of them, so we're in that ballpark of 2,000. So this year was a little higher.
And then the proposed budget is roughly 51,000 more than the 2025 estimate. So we're looking to do more going into the next fiscal year, or is that just higher expenses?
So I'm also trying to build up that reserve for unexpected expenses or whatever. We always had a balance in there for that or emergency, and I'm just trying to get that built up again to where we were in the past.
Okay, so the difference is really trying to backstop the reserves a little bit.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Linda's saying yes. Say that again. I couldn't make it out. Everybody else
The
is saying
difference
yes.
between the 2025 estimate and the 2026 proposed is just to backstop the reserves a little bit. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Right, okay,
Right.
thank you.
We're trying to build it back up. We kind of ate into it, so yeah.
John, is there a schedule of when bulkheads will be replaced? Where would that be located?
Yeah, so it's 5 years, as we mentioned in the strategic plan. There was a binder here, and I believe there's one down in Public Works.
And it's online as well.
In the sense, it's also online now as part of the strategic plan.
It is.
So
Okay,
3
thank you.
places you can go.
Any other questions? No more questions. I guess we're up to Marina.
Okay, Marina's tab 22. Total revenues, 1,267,040. Slight increase over last year's budget. Total cost sales, 841,280. Expenses, 92,570, slight decrease over last year. Services and supplies, 50,575, slight decrease over last year's budget. Repairs and maintenance stays the same at 5,000. Utilities, 10,700, slight increase over last year. And total other costs, 11,737, slight decrease over last year's budget, making the total operating cost 170,582.
I know we lost our dock master last year. It was a pretty amazing guy. Do we have somebody that's stepping into that position?
Yes, let's do it. So what we're doing is, the marina will continue. As you know, we moved Nobi Violante down there over a year ago. We wanted cross training, we wanted backup, and certainly with all the work on the docks and everything led by Nobi, we thought this was good. So Nobi will continue to be in charge of the marina under Eddie with a dotted line into the GM office. He is working on, and they've identified an individual to be the number 2, if not the 1A, and we'll work on that and develop over the next year. So part of Nobi's salary is allocated to marina, correct, Steve? So we did allocate a piece of, Nobody's salary.
Okay. Any questions, folks?
Yeah.
Stephen?
Yeah, John, last year there was a fair amount of discussion about the fees charged for the marina as compared to similar marinas in the area. We have a wait list. I assume we still have a wait list. And I note that in the revenue, we went up from the budget to what is estimated to come in someplace a little bit under $25,000. We bump it up maybe $30,000 from the proposed. It would seem like this is an area, I'm assuming the background information hasn't changed significantly. We still have a wait list. We are still well underpriced, similar marinas in the area. And I'm wondering why, we're showing, an increase of only about $27,000. I mean, the year before, we didn't increase it at all. My recollection is last year, the staff recommendation was someplace around 14 to 15% increase, and I think the budget approved it at about 7 or 8%. Assuming the background information hasn't changed, why aren't we bumping this a little bit more, being more aggressive?
Okay, so then who's gonna handle the pricing? You? Well, before you go, so to answer, first of all, you're correct. There was an increase last year. You're right, the final increase was less than what we had proposed. Yes, we still have and will have a long waiting list for that. Now, the one thing, and I'm gonna ask Dan to make sure I'm correct on this. One thing I've heard on the outside, and I've read and different thing, is a lot of the people on the waiting list, or a lot of people that have the slips are non-homeowners in Ocean Pines.
There are some, yes.
But it's not a big number.
No,
So I just
not.
wanted to point that
Not at
out,
all.
because I do continue to read that and hear it. So I want to put that out there, that that is not the case.
Oh.
There is a pricing, we did a major pricing study for all the amenities this year. We have the bind of the pricing study book, which I believe, and the team did exactly what I asked for. We didn't just arbitrarily put pricing increases. Steve will go through with you and the board what the pricing increases and how we approached it for the marina. One of the things we did for all of them is we took, over the last 5, 6 years, what increases did we give? What percentages were there or didn't? What was the CPI or the inflation factors? So that was one category we looked at. We looked at another category where all the department heads, the experts, the SMEs, they went out and benchmarked against any type of competition or anything else that they could find. We did that, and we continue to see, and even after these proposed price increases, we're still basically lower. So Steve will go through that with you. Obviously, like anything else, maybe there is room, but you get into this where people kind of cherry pick, where they, there's a number. Oh, that's a big number. But when you look at the whole of wax or whatever, it really is not the case. So for instance, if you take something, well, that was 25% increase, but when you look at that, we didn't increase it, or we increased it small over the years and fell behind, or we're still way behind somebody else. I call that kind of cherry picking when you say, oh, that's a 25% increase. You got to look at the whole universe of the items that affect that. So with that, I'm going to ask, if hopefully this answered your question. Now let's give you the detail to you and the board to show what the team did, and then obviously you're going to evaluate and make recommendations or tell me what to do. Steve, all you.
Yeah, so as John said, we did benchmark against local competition. The two benchmarks specifically for the marina were Ocean City Fishing Center. That was they have pricing of $127 a foot, and then we used Bahia Marina at $140 a foot. So if you extrapolate those numbers and compare it to where we are, like John said, it's significantly below. For the under 26 foot versus the benchmark, we were $1,100 below. For over 26 foot, we were $2,100 below the competition. The CPI adjustments, so we looked at the last 5 years versus what we've increased marina over the last 5 years, and it was significantly lower than that CPI, which was roughly 20%. So I think the increase that we have built in here is kind of the method of gradual increase year over year. So it kind of follows that strategy. We put 10%.
Well, on the third page, where it says marina's slip rate history, the proposed rate is 9%.
Yeah, it's not been changed.
And it was,
Almost-
and it
almost
was
10.
7%. It was 7% last year when the staff recommendation, as I recall, was someplace around 15%. No increase in 2024 and only a 4% increase in the 2 years prior to that. So
Right.
I appreciate the work that's being done, and I'm not criticizing that. I want to make that clear. What I don't understand is we are still significantly below our competition. We still have a significant wait list, and yet we're only increasing the rate at 2% from last year to this year.
Okay. First of all, I'm not saying I disagree with what you're saying, and good to hear this type of feedback or whatever. Like golf, like racket sports, and you'll hear about that, and you heard a little bit in the beginning with this. We are saying we'll try to get to covering all the operating costs or whatever, or where we should be over a period of time. Obviously, if the board or we all think we can do that early, that's fine. What I caution, or what I'm trying to point out is, and what happened last year, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Oh, the increase you're proposing is 12%. Well, inflation's only 3%. If we can get past that and understand the complete picture of what you're saying now and what I've been saying, maybe we look at the period of time, but that's up to the board. And obviously we gave our proposal, but I respect what you're saying. I'm explaining what we've done. It's certainly something for, the board to,
Let me take it a step further if I can. My recollection, John, whether it was last year or this year, maybe it was both years, when you were comparing figures, you made a point about the weather impact on the marina usage, which was because of the bad weather, we had less usage. It probably affects golf to some degree, but probably not nearly as much. You could make the case that golfers are dumber than people who use their boats, but that's, I guess what I'm saying is, in order, and of course, we haven't even gotten to fuel costs, which could also be spiking up or dropping down depending upon changes we have no control over at all. And so, again, almost back to the same point about the bulkheads, where you're trying to build up the reserve. It seems to me you have the flexibility with marinas that you may not have with the other amenities, by the way, to significantly increase the rate just so you have a bigger cushion for all the weather and the fuel costs and everything else that may come down the road.
Elaine?
look, I certainly cannot debate that. I mean, that's for the board. You're right. Last year, we had 95 small craft, the highest number I've heard since I've been here. We did bounce back. You're right. Gas, oil, I've always said is one of the most, I don't want to say manipulative, but it's definitely something that fluctuates. Like you said, I believe anybody that's been in charge down there, we've made good decisions on when we bought. We are the most competitive, and I want that out there. And Ron, I'm using the words that Ron used. John, competitive. We will stay that way. I understand what you're saying about, whether, I can budget the whole place like this. I've heard in one amenity, well, I've heard is the weather for a year and a half, whereas, I'm in here saying golf is knocking it out of the park, and that's played outside. One thing I want to say about it that on top of what you're saying is we had to replace docks last year, the gas pipes. That was a big number. It was replacement. A lot of that, what I called, and I'm not criticizing everybody, but that kind of decision, it should have been made years ago, I'm being told, to replace those gas lines, is kicked down the road. In our reserve study, we're increasing for this. We have more docks coming up. So there isn't a budget for that stuff. Look, as far as the pricing, you're right, there is room. That's why we're doing what we do today. We'll present everything we did, and then I'll march on what the board says, or if the board wants me and my team to go back and sharpen our pencils or whatever, we'll certainly do that. But you're right. You're right.
Elaine,
I hear what Steve is saying. I'm always one who doesn't look just at percentages, because a percentage sometimes doesn't give the real cost, especially to the homeowner. There are certain amenities that are at a higher fee. So 10% for that amenity could be an additional several $100s for the person, versus another amenity that's 20 or 25%, which is only 10 or 20 or $30. But I mean, it is somewhat a tool. I do understand, though, Steve, you're saying last year, we lowered what the ask was from operations on that. And I'm wondering, and I'd like to get that feedback from you all, would we be, would you prefer that we had brought that up to where it was, and maybe this year bump it up from what we cost, what we cut last year from what your ask was, so that it is a little bit higher than what is presented here in the budget, because, there is some demand, and there was additional work. I think we have to look at all of that, and, maybe we need to bump it up just a little to make up for what we kind of took off of it last year in the recommend.
Monica.
Yeah, I'm okay with a bump in the marina fees as well. Not just to do it, but again, for all the things we're seeing and where we might need adjustments elsewhere, this seems like the easy one to kind of bump up that price.
So you're talking, instead of like 9, make it a 10%, make it even?
I would say 15.
That 15% is a huge, it's a huge, we're gonna have a discussion here.
I'm thinking,
So-
15% is huge. We're talking about over $340, $350. I'm sorry, John.
So it's Stuart, and I understand your point, but this is what I'm saying about cherry picking and everything. And I get that. And we went through this last year. The question, what we all have to decide is, I believe this board, and definitely my team, our team, we believe we want to get to a certain level. It's just now, how fast or how slow or over how many years do we get there? We got to look at it that we are so underpriced, and we've been for years, so that when you do try to catch up, you may have a high percentage. But the board has to decide on that. And I hate to say, I don't mean it the way it's coming out. What kind of stomach do we have, or how does that affect everybody? And I respect that. Obviously, we would look at that. Then we say over years, we'll try to get there. That's what we're saying with racket sports. That's what we're saying with golf. I said that with golf 2 years ago, and we're on plan. So that's a point you have, but that's what you're going to have to decide, you being the board. What kind of time frame to get there?
Yeah, Steven.
That being the case, what is the staff's view as to addressing the lower rates that we charge as compared to other marinas in the area? In other words, at what point do we hit that equilibrium that you claim we're seeking? Because we basically didn't do anything until 2025, when we went up 7%, because the 4% in 22, 23 was probably eaten up by inflation anyway, and nothing in 24. So we bumped it now at another 2% to try as we move towards this.
What was the percentage?
When you would see us reaching that equilibrium?
He needs. Hold on 1 second, Stephen, wait, just let me get my team into what they all have the right answers. So what, Steve, what I had just in here, and again, what you're saying is, okay, we were at 8% last year. Now you're saying 10, which is a 2% in additional. They just heard the two, so it is 10. You're all saying the same thing. The consensus in this room is, and we understand about, 1% or 5 or 6%, even more is high. I did hear somebody in there say, what do we say? And we respect that you're asking us. The consensus in this room is 12%. So we're at 10 increase, 12.5%, whatever's rounded. That's what, if we're asked by the board, that's what we would say. Of course, the 15% certainly would still put us on the low end.
So
Hopefully that answers the question.
the collective wisdom is we probably are, for lack of a better term, safe at going, increasing the increase enlisted on the marina slip rate history is 9%. You're saying we can go to 12.
12.5, right? 12.5, whatever comes out rounded. We're okay with that. And we're stating that there's probably going to be increases even over the next several years to try to get where even the board, as some of you were saying, we should be. So the question is more over time.
John, what percentage of the people that rent in the marina are owners, association members?
Yeah, it's pretty high, higher than
95%.
It's 95, but there's only a few. I know I've read that too, Stuart.
There's only about a handful.
How about on the waiting list? Are there a lot of people from the outside on the waiting
There's
list?
probably about a half a dozen or so on the waiting list that are not.
Not a big
residents.
number. And remember, we need to be open, but to the outside also. It's not a big number, Stuart.
No, I get it, but we have our association members that are, maybe we only have a 9 or 10% increase to people that are owners, and then we have a 15% increase for non-owners. Maybe we have a non-owner rate and an owner rate for the marina.
They pay 10%.
What do you think?
So they do, so Stuart, they do pay more. What we're saying is there's only 4, 5, 6 of them. It's not gonna be material. And they already do pay more.
Right, I mean, we have prices and costs going up. Everybody got their new assessment in the mail, right? For your property.
Oh, yeah.
I got mine. Everything's going up.
Yes, sir.
I think that as a benefit to our members and is to try to hold the line on some of these increases, make it so that the amenity pays for itself, but not make it so cost prohibitive where I know we have a waiting list, but I still think that we shouldn't go over. I would be agreeable to talk to everybody about a 10 to 12% increase as opposed to 9, but I'm not into a 15% increase.
I agree.
Well, I mean,
I agree. I
That-
think around 12, 12.5. is
that
what
would
they
say if we can live at
recommend.
12.5, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with 12.
I'm okay with 12.
yeah, me too.
I could get with that.
All right, so we got a
Okay, so the
consensus
board-
here, 12%?
Yes.
All right, because we still have to maintain a benefit to our members. We still answer to them. They put us here to represent them. So I don't think that, listen, you can say what you want. I'm going to be honest with you. We are not, we're a nonprofit. We're supposed to have these amenities pay for themselves. Marinas pays for itself.
Yeah, but there's also the example that
Stuart,
John used.
Stuart.
John is
May I-
saying
may I
no.
just jump in on that. So we gotta understand that there is a big number coming to replace those docks. So you may not see it in the P&L, but we have to allocate to the reserve, and there is gonna be more there. So there is another piece down there as well as everywhere else. But, we're listening, we're gonna take the guidance, and obviously this is a board thing. It sounds like you're
I know.
recommending 12%.
I know Pines Point Marina is getting hit with a heavy assessment because of their infrastructure. I think everybody that's an owner over there, I think it's at least $12,000 per slip. They're getting hit as an assessment in addition to whatever they're paying there. I can get behind 12%.
They're also owned slips, just to be clear.
Right.
They're
They're owned
their
slips.
own slips over there, so it's a little bit different, but yes.
So, okay, so we're gonna go, Steve's writing down and Mark, they're gonna readjust and we'll have a list so we're gonna go to 12%, we're at 10, we'll do that. I'm just pointing out, I just want to point out again, first of all, everything I heard from all of you is really good. We have these docks, we're gonna have to replace them with this increase, even though my P&L or our P&L is looking a certain way. I gotta allocate, we're allocating more to the reserves so that when the time comes to replace them, we don't have that special assessment or that we have to say, hey, we need this, or we pull from somewhere else. So that still has to be funded, and this helps to do that to some extent. Okay.
John?
Hey, John, I just want to add, I appreciate you sharing the thought process around the increase, because I certainly agree with you guys. It's like, it's not like every year you just come up and say it's 3.5% increase. All the work that went into the evaluation of those, they yielded different results, right? So,
Right.
you know, if one's 3 and one's 20 or whatever it is, I just think the community would need to know, and hopefully they would understand that this is just not just a flat increase, and why one went up 12, one went up
Correct.
7, and one went up 20. So I appreciate that work, and I think what you've done is justified the kind of the reasoning of the decisions that you've made, fact-based decisions. So thank you, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, just one more point. Instead of concentrating on the percentage increase, let's talk about the money increase per amenity. So if you're going to do a $25 increase and you want to call it a 20% increase, I think that's disingenuous, as opposed to a 12% increase being about, what, $350.
No, I agree. I think,
Instead of getting contact and sticking with, well, what is the percentage increase of a membership? Let's kind of stay with the dollar increase. This way, it actually more reflects what is spent.
Good for me.
If-
Let it be written.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, John. Anything else on marinas?
Anybody?
Okay, we're gonna move ahead. Are we ready for the fire department?
I actually saw Joe coming in.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought it was supposed to be vice versa. That Joey says be online.
Whoever's out there. please.
Police is gonna be next, tab 11. I'll get the chief in.
All right, so we're gonna do police steward. I did see one of the Joey show up through the parking lot. Waiting for Joe. Let's do
John, I'm
police.
here online.
Oh, Joe's online. Okay, Linda said you may be. Okay, great.
Goes online. so.
I don't see him.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 2 pages.
I'm right here.
Hey, there he goes.
Thank you. Yep.
Doing fire.
And he's leaving to solve some streets or roads or whatever.
There it is.
Joey's here.
Joe, you gonna
Joe's
put my
online.
Queen of
Joey, how
Hearts?
are you today?
yeah.
It's Joe.
Maybe, I'm working on it.
Just right there. We get somebody else. They have all the information.
Yes, I think so.
All right, so Stuart, we have Joe. You can see him. I can see him online. We have Joey in the room. They have material. I mean, last time they had like a handout or something. I don't know what they're giving.
They could have got the handout already.
Nothing has changed from BNF. Is that correct? So I just lost everybody for some reason.
Taking it to this meeting. Here, I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Stuart, you can hear us?
Yeah, we see it and we hear you.
Yeah, we can see, we see it. So I just want to say before they start, there's been no changes. They will go through it, but no changes from what they presented at the Budget and Finance last week. But they do have a very good presentation, and I believe, who's going through it? Joe or Joey? Joe's gonna do it. All right, Joe, all you.
Okay, sounds good. Can you all hear me okay?
Hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time to meet with Chief Widgeon and I. We've put together a little presentation just to help you better understand how we developed our budget this year, where the funds are going, and what our goals are for 2025, or I guess it'll be 26, 20, 25, 26, or whatever the fiscal year actually is. It gets confusing. All right, so as you all know, our mission is to protect and serve this community, whether it be from fire or emergency medical services, and our vision is to continue to be able to do that safely, and also be able to enhance the relationships that we have with our community members and enhance our own members' trainings and abilities. So to get started, we wanted to just kind of give you a snapshot of what the calendar year 2024 looked like for us. We had 2,125 EMS calls for service. That included 238 calls without patient contact and 547 without patient transport. We also had approximately 335 fire calls for service. Additionally, those 335 fire calls translated into 3,827 fire manpower hours. So those are the actual hours that our members and our career staff, or actually just our volunteer members, have been actually invested into responding to these emergencies in the community. Additionally, our volunteer members have also invested 2,400 or more hours in our fundraising activities. So that way we can try to supplement any of our request for budgeting from you and the county. Apologize for the noise in the background if you can hear anything. I'm in the airport. Our current challenges right now, all of which you all are probably very well aware of. Number one is our facility limitations. We know that the South Station is undersized and lacks the NFPA compliant safety features that we need. And it also lacks the space that we need for sleeping quarters. Thankfully, to the new MOU that we worked on with you all this summer, we were able to hopefully turn this into an opportunity moving forward. Other challenges that we've had are increased call volume, as well as the aging equipment. We all know that our apparatus has certain life expectancy, but that also boils down to our air packs, the gear that we wear into fires and everything like that. And additionally, one of the biggest things that is causing issues within public safety is the inflation rate. And unfortunately, and for some reason, it's hitting public safety a lot harder than a lot of areas. As we all know, we used to be able to buy a fire truck for around $350,000 to $400,000, and now we're close to $1 million, or if not more than $1 million. And so that we're trying to combat that. So just for example, when it comes down to some of the costs that we incur, the cost to outfit a firefighter, that includes their turnout jacket, their pants, 2 sets of gloves, 2 sets of hoods, a helmet, boots, and a pager, is approximately $6,500. And to be honest with you, that's not enough. Per NFPA, we should actually have 2 sets of gear for every one firefighter. So that way it cuts down the risk of cross-contamination and the chances of getting cancer from all the carcinogens on our gear. Now, we're not asking the community to fund a second set of gear this year. We're actually working on several different grants to help us do things like purchase new air packs, new sets of gear, or second sets of gear. But we just wanted you all to see kind of what those numbers add up to be. Now, goals for 2025 and 2026 is going to be to address critical safety and operational needs, invest in updated training tools and props, progress the South Station building project, maintain and upgrade our essential apparatus and equipment, as well as sustain high quality service and delivery to the community. So, as you all know, we really take to heart the commitment that we have and the responsibility that we have to our community. And so our commitment is to continue to enhance the safety within our community, enhance our operations so that way they're running as efficiently as possible, as well as maintaining the sustained excellence that the community deserves and we've been known for. So the proposed budget for this year, the total request from Ocean Pines is $1,120,151.85. The way that we came to that number is we kind of went through a set of key allocations that included our apparatus and equipment replacement, training resources, maintenance and operations, as well as employee and volunteer expenses. To determine what that bottom line number is that we had a request, we needed to figure out what our revenue was. And so our projected total revenue is $1,886,714. To come up with that, we considered our EMS billing, our county fire grants, our county EMS grants, our state grants, as well as any interest and dividends from our investments. So one of the large areas and one of the things that might pop off the sheets to you when you're looking at the budget is the capital request area. Number one is our apparatus replacement. That this year is up to $375,000. That reflects the new 25-75 split between OPA and the Ocean Pines Volunteer Fire Department. Additionally, we've increased our capital purchases for fire capital purchases. Chief Widgeon, do you want to talk about that one?
That's for air packs for the new fire trucks, SCBA. They're roughly between $10,000 to $13,000 a piece. I have two quotes in front of me, varying whichever kind or whichever way we want to go. But that's going to be outfitting the new truck we're going to get in 2025 with air packs.
And we're continuing to apply for grants. I believe you all are aware that we did apply for a very large grant to replace all of our air packs this past year. We were not successful in that. However, we've just reapplied for it, and we should know more sometime in the March or February or March timeframe, hopefully. Additionally, you'll see this year we have added an EMS capital purchases line, and that is to replace the computer tablets that are in the 3 medic units. So that's going to be for the actual computers, the mounting stations, the batteries, the wiring, everything like that. So that total request is $451,500. All right. So our total operating costs were projected to be $599,733.65. Our compensation costs are $1,955,132.20. The capital equipment, as we just talked, was $451,500 for total expenditures projected to be at $3,005,865.85. If you subtract that 1.8 million in revenue, that gets us to that $1,120,151.85. So in conclusion, we are hoping that we put together a budget that really aligns with, that shows that we have a commitment to the community safety, our operational excellence, and also that we are looking to make strategic investments in infrastructure and our apparatus and our gear that we need, so that way we can maintain the level of service that's expected. With that said, we would love to open it up to any questions that you all have about any of the changes or goals for the department for the year.
Yeah, John.
Hey, Joe, thank you very much. It was very, very, very nice. Appreciate it. Quick question for you. On the capital reserve contribution on the budget page, that increase is due to the change that we made, right? From Ocean Pond's contribution from 50 to 75%.
75-25, yes.
Yep, perfect. Okay, thank you. That's what I thought.
Steve.
Yeah, Joe, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, I think before you ascended to the high office that you currently occupy, there was a budget item for a replacement truck that bordered on about $1 million. One of your big fire. When I was a kid, we probably called them hook and ladders, but it was a big truck.
The big red truck.
And my recollection is that purchase was deferred for a year. Has it been deferred again, or what is the status of that?
Chief, do you want to take that?
So we just purchased the new fire truck or fire engine, because I know it's a little confusing with it. So the ladder truck, which I think you're referring to, unless I'm wrong, is not due until 36, I believe, 2036. Sorry, I don't have that in front of me. Joe has that. So it's not, yeah, go ahead, John.
So let me help them out. And you're right, there were some changes or whatever. Steve, we work with the fire department and they give us input. Steve will calculate it. We'll send you the apparatus replacement schedule through Joe and Joey. Make sure that nothing's changed. So Steve's actually going through it now with Joey. We have all that laid out, per conversations with the fire department, and we'll send that to you, or I'll try to get a copy in there.
Yeah, so the tower's not due for another 10 years. So right now we're looking at the new pumper we just purchased. And then in this budget cycle, maybe next budget cycle, we'll look at another engine that's going to be replaced due to the cycle, due to the schedule.
So I'll get Linda to bring in 6-7 copies for you of what we have that we work with.
That'd be great.
Does that answer your question, Steve?
Well, I think so. I'm going back about 2 years, so maybe it wasn't like a hook and ladder. Maybe it was the pumper truck that cost.
Yeah,
we did prolong or push off the pumper we just ordered from 4 years ago during COVID and everything else. So we did prolong that, but we are, as of right now, we are up to date. We are pretty good with the schedule as far as I can tell.
Right,
And as far as we have sat down with Steve and John,
right,
we are pretty spot on with the schedule now.
right. Now, Joe, just help me out. I may not be on the right track. Wasn't there some delays also with the production?
Yes.
Or there was a wait
Correct.
time to get the truck also, Steve? So good question. We're gonna send in the schedule. We'll send the 6 copies or 7 copies so the board can have them.
So on the fire truck, we're looking roughly 2 years build time. That's how long of a delay. The ambulance is also 2 years. So we just placed the order for the ambulance in 24. We're not getting that until first quarter of 27 now. So you're looking 2 years. If it's gonna be like a rescue engine or another special piece, we could be up to 4 years. It's just the build
So
time.
when do you, I'm sorry, when do you expect to take possession of the pumper truck?
As of right now, from last week when me and my assistant chief talked, he talked to them. We are on schedule for July of 25.
Okay,
So we're in 25 now, but July of this year, unless something happens, we are on schedule for July of 25.
And the money is in there for that truck. Again, that schedule Steve's gonna hand out will show all of you that. It's good questions.
Yes, John?
Joe, one more question. We certainly appreciate the application for grants and whatnot. And it sounds like you maybe we didn't get the last one or something. Hopefully we'll get the next one coming up. If there's, are there any things that the community can do to help you guys with that? I mean, I know you guys are the experts in doing that, but I know the police chief, Chief Robinson does a fair amount of them. So maybe there's some expertise that could help. Just offering if there's something that we can help, because obviously those things are important to us.
Absolutely. So we actually we have a new member that joined the department probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and she has an extensive background in nonprofit management and grant writing. She's actually personally through her grant writing secured several $1 million for other nonprofits over the years. So she's been working with the chief to prioritize the different things that we need from the air packs and other tools and things like that. And so since she's come on, we've applied to, I think, an additional 6 or 7 grants just in the last couple of months. So we're not opposed to any additional help that's out there. And we are going to be working with this individual, her name is Andrea, to try to enhance what we're doing. And we can always consult with Chief Robinson too.
That's all.
Thank you. Just want to make sure if there's any help, make sure we're helping to support that.
Joe,
Thank you.
let me ask
Yes,
you
sir.
a question. What's our average response time to a call?
Going to defer to Chief Widgeon on that one.
6 minutes.
So,
I
we
was like,
talking
Chief,
ambulance? Are we talking fire or ambulance?
either. Give me both.
So ambulance, I would say our response time, give or take, is 5 to 6 minutes. We're out the door immediately. The fire trucks, I would say a good 6 to 7 minutes. We should be there. Give or take, depending on weather, and we get another foot of snow and vice versa. But our response times are pretty low.
This goes into the next thing I want to say. This is the best darn fire department I've ever had any part to being with. And I have 2 fire departments up in Pennsylvania that I'm associated with. That's excellent. I just want to make get this out there, that all of your fundraising activities go towards your equipment, not towards a building, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
The only thing the building will, and Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, is the bricks for the building.
Yeah, bricks for the building, or if someone specifically makes a donation that they say, hey, we want this specifically go towards the building fund.
Okay, and I got to also mention this to both of you guys. This is the most fundraising I've ever seen happen with this fire company since I've lived here, and I've been here coming up on 12 years. And I got to give you guys a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And you want my Queen of Hearts next time, will you?
Yeah.
Does anybody
see
have any
about
other
that.
questions? Monica, did you want to say something? No. So your ask is a total of 1.2?
give or take, yes.
112, yeah.
112?
We can go to 1.2 if you'd like.
Good luck with that.
Do I hear
So,
1.3?
Think of while you're ahead there, Joe.
Anybody have anything for the chief or the president?
Good job.
Guys, great job, and wherever you're traveling to, Joe, have a safe trip.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Okay, I guess we're up to Chief Robinson in the police department.
Yep, so Linda's telling me it's tab 11, please.
Yep.
Chief Robinson,
Morning, everybody.
morning.
Morning, Chief.
Morning.
So Linda will read the numbers like she's been doing with every other department, and then the chief will give you the overview. While she's getting set, let me just say this again. So in this budget, we have 16 positions for police. This proposed budget, we have funded 14. As far as cruisers, we have funded 15.
Wow.
In this budget. So that would leave us 2 positions that we did not fund, but probably will be down the road, the next budget, just pointing that out to everybody, as well as the cruiser. He needs 16. With this budget, assumed that's approved, he would have 15. All right, so that's the highlight, the overview on that. I'll let the chief answer anything else after Linda goes through the numbers for you.
Okay, total revenue is 596,000. That includes the grants from the county and state and miscellaneous. Expenses, 2,119,571. That includes the payroll, as John just mentioned. Services and supplies, 186,006. That is an increase over last year. Repairs and maintenance, 12,000, same as last year. Utilities, 28,900, slight increase as in other departments. And other costs, 41,792, a slight increase over last year.
When I came here about 18 months ago, the department that I took over, we were very much understaffed. There was a total of 7 functional officers here, including myself. And one of the goals I undertook was to rebuild this agency, which we are in a very good position now. We now have 12 officers that are available to work here for the Ocean Pines community. We are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are on the verge of hopefully hiring 2 more people to bring us up to our full staff of 14 that we're going to maintain for a while. And we are bringing us into the as I say, the 21st century of law enforcement with our new policies, our new procedures, things that are mandated on us by the state of Maryland. And one of the things I'm very proud of is the morale that has increased in this department, as well as the reputation of the Ocean Pines Police Department. I think that we are now becoming a department that is looked at as a great place to not only work, but a place that's doing a great job for our community. And I'm very excited to be a part of this community and see where we're going with this. So are there any
Anybody have any questions? Jeff?
Chief, with the acquisition of your tasers, did that grant include any necessary training for that, or is that something that needs to be put in the budget?
So that will include the training for that. The way it's going to work is it will train somebody in our office to be our in-house trainer.
Train the trainer.
Okay.
Chief, I just wanted to make a comment that when we brought you on, one of our big issues was public policing being visible in our community. And you have done that. Everybody knows Chief Robinson, everybody. We see a lot more of your guys on the road than I've ever seen before. This is the most engaging police department I have seen since I've lived here. And I just wanted to give you a kudo and a congratulations.
You don't want
I mean,
when you're behind you don't care about it.
just remember me when I'm flying down the parkway. I mean, no, but how much in total grant money have you personally been responsible for?
Since I've been here, I think, including some grants I wrote at the tail end of the last budget year, I brought in $130,000 this budget year, another 28,000, so just under 160,000 total since I've been here.
I just wanted to make that public to let everybody know exactly what's going on in your department. Stephen?
Yeah, Chief, I just wanted to say one thing to you, go Caps.
Me.
Yes, sir.
I might veto that.
Good night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anybody else have anything else for the chief? Anything that you wanted to bring up or have a question about? Yes, Elaine?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because we're talking about staying with 14 staff for this upcoming year. And I wasn't sure, you're saying 15 vehicles. Are we just sticking now to 14 vehicles versus 15? Is this 15th in the budget?
We said we're getting we put another vehicle in this year's budget is, I want to have one that is available, it'll be the oldest car, probably the one with the most mileage, that'll be here available in case somebody's car's in the shop, something just happens and somebody needs another vehicle. I think it's a good practice to have.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's kind of a loaner.
Like a 19th hole.
Yeah.
So you have how many people in the academy right now, chief?
I have we did not put anybody in this academy class. I'm hopeful to hire, 2 experienced certified officers that'll bring us up to 14. And I think that's gonna be huge.
Pay for it.
Ocean Pines, gonna be double the force it was when I started here.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Congratulations on rebuilding our agency. Anybody have any other questions for the chief? Straightforward. No, pretty straightforward. Get back to work, chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, chief. Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Debbie Donue's here, so it's time for Rec and Parks. Tab number.
Go.
Ready? Yeah. I'll answer questions. How does that work?
Yeah.
Perfect.
What'd she do?
Nothing.
Did I miss it?
That's good. Debbie, Steve's gonna read for Debbie.
Okay, Steve, Debbie has asked Steve to read through her numbers and then the same approach. She will answer any questions.
All right, so total revenues, $498,500. It's slightly down versus 2025 budget. That's due to Camp Ocean Pines being a bit overstated in the 25 budget. We reduced that to what we believe we will actually receive in 2026. Net revenue is $466,000. Operating expenditures, $971,000. Bottom line is $505,000 loss versus $492 in 2025.
Hey, Debbie, this is what you
Any questions? I'm gonna go, John Latham.
Just a couple questions. First of all, Debbie, I wanted to thank you and your team for that event that you guys worked very, very hard for, the Vienna Choir Boys. It was nothing short than amazing. Hopefully we'll see, potentially more of those kind of events. I just thought it was great. It was a packed house. Debbie, I know the answer to this, but for the folks that may be listening, could you just share the camp revenue? I know you had shared with us that some folks make some deposits, then they don't show up, and just so some folks just have a little clarity on exactly how that worked and how that took place.
Sure. So what we do is, when they come in for registration, they pay the first week in full, and then they pay $25 deposits for every week after that. There's a time period in between, so they can register for all 10 weeks. But if they decide that, week 5, they're not going to come, then they just forfeit a $25 deposit. So we're working on changing that process to where those payments in full will not be refunded. And we're trying to work out how we can still collect on the money and not lose anything from those weeks later on in the summer.
So you said in full.
Yes, and we're
Yes, sir.
say, and they, you know, we're trying to make it easy for the parents to not have to pay the full amount at the beginning of camp, but we also, you know, have to keep a hold of our deposits, you know, and have them commit to having those weeks and not back out from us.
Yeah, Debbie, is it fair to say that when someone makes a deposit, they basically block a spot out? So
That's
then
correct.
when camp starts, when some of the folks don't show up, it's almost too late to get someone to fill in at that point, and that kind of creates a little void for us.
That is true. That is true. We are trying to find a policy and a new procedure as to how we can stop that, you know, from happening. Once you commit, you pay, that type of situation.
Thank you. I
If
just
we
wanted
hold
a
it
lot
for
of folks.
you. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
think it's just important. Thank you.
Yes, Elaine. I'm sorry, Jeff, you were next.
Hey Debbie, you shot
Yes.
a shot across the bow during the BNF meeting on maybe the need for a new rec and park center.
The building.
Which
A
I
shot
happen-
across the bow. he says.
Yeah, we all heard it.
which I happen to agree with. My question is, what, not the amount, but what type of revenue would you see increasing with a new building?
Well, we would be able to have more leagues and be able to facilitate more people. If we had more of what you call a recreation department, we could have more gyms. We could actually have outdoor facilities, depending on where it's located. You know, all the different programs that could come in, it could produce quite a bit more revenue with a larger building and a larger complex in itself.
When did
So
that building
were you look-
become small?
I don't know where else.
That
Were you looking
building
to
was too
expand the
small when
community
we-
center?
when we opened it.
New building,
New building.
new building.
New
Yeah.
building would it be replacing the community center with a new building or a building in addition to the community center?
Well, if I want to reach for the stars, I would like to have a whole new complex. But I mean, if we have to extend the building that we have, we can potentially do that. We just have to look into it a little bit more. However, I don't know if the dynamics are gonna increase revenue that much if I can't change the dynamics of the building into having at least one more gym, then I don't know that increasing the size of the existing building is gonna make that much more revenue. It would a little, I would have more camp spots available. But as far as, you know, increasing what I have right here, basically it would gut the building and have to start all over again anyway.
Okay. Elaine.
Yeah, I just have a quick question and it's, you know, on a small amount, but the Jolly Roger tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
It just seems, I'm not quite understanding why there seems to be a big drop this past year versus prior years.
Yes,
And then
ma'am.
you're kind of going back up to similar to what we've done previously. Before it was between 35 and 40,000. It looks like this year, for whatever reason, it's only 25,000. Was there a reason for that?
That situation is just based on the economy itself and based on whether people actually come and purchase the tickets. We are given those by Jolly Rogers to sell.
Mhm.
And they've had a drop. I spoke with Dawn at Jolly Rogers and they also had a drop in their sales. There's really, you know, no explanation on our part. There was no falter in getting the tickets. There, you know, nothing of that nature. It's just the people coming in to purchase them. The prices from Jolly Rogers have not changed. I did find out from Dawn just last Friday that they're going to go up just $1 or $2 here and there, but they haven't changed for us in the last 5 years. So we're hoping, you know, that's why we put it in the budget that way, is that the people will come out and be purchasing more tickets from us as they have in the past.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I wondered, if they're dropping off, why is the amount higher? And then I guess, do we have to purchase a certain amount of tickets, or do we purchase those as people request them? I mean, are we getting stuck with inventory that we're paid that we cannot use at the end of the year?
No, ma'am. So the process with that is that we get them ahead of time. We order X amount by each park. So whether it's Speed World or the water park or whatnot, we order a lump sum amount of those at the beginning of the summer. And then as we sell out of them, I order more. But I've been doing this long enough to get right to the last week. This year, we didn't have any inventory left over.
Okay.
You prepay or you pay?
Okay, any other
We
questions,
pay.
folks?
Well, there's a lot of events.
Are you looking to expand out your events this year?
We're trying to come up with more vendors. I just got a new vendor just last week, a local person that has started his own vendor truck. We are trying to come up with ways that even if the event is free, that we can make money either through concession or different ways that we can still try to bring in some revenue off of the different events. So yes.
Okay, any other questions, folks? Well, thank you very much, Debbie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There's a lot of events we have here.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Forget
events.
how many that we got, how many.
Debbie, I just wanted one question. I'm sorry, before you go.
Okay.
How many total activities do we have in Ocean Pines?
Oh my goodness. Quite a lot. Sorry, Stuart, I wasn't prepared for
No,
that question.
I think I counted over 95 of them in the book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
I
quite
just
a
wanted to
few.
let everybody know, we
Yeah.
have as much as you want to do here.
That's right.
There's at least over 90 activities through Parks and Rec. And if anybody's still with us listening in, call Debbie. Thank
If you can't find it, I'm not sure you're looking.
Okay,
They do a good job of coming up with things
Yeah.
for the community.
okay, we're gonna move on to racket sports with Ruth Ann and Terry Underkoffler.
Thank you, Debbie.
Uh-huh.
Could you just ask them?
Thank you
Terry's
very
online.
much, Debbie.
There's online.
Thanks, Debbie.
13.
At 13.
13.
Terry, how are you today?
Doing well. It's a little chilly down here. It's about a high of 50.
Does his hair.
Always.
Okay, so racket sports, Terry Underhopper.
Okay, so you've seen the numbers there. We're looking to do we're looking to do a bold change in regards to membership. And this is based on some factors that have been going on for the last 4 or 5 years. The factors being that our costs have gone significantly up since 2016. Labor has doubled. Cost of labor, minimum wage has doubled. We've had to address repairs to fencing. We've had to address the major renovation to a building, and court maintenance and court safety is a constant concern when you're providing people the opportunity to play tennis, pickleball, and platform, and all the games that come with those. The crack we built the racket center where it is what it is. We're in a marshy area. In several of our courts, cracks that we found out now could be a yearly or bi-yearly cost. With those costs have to be budgeted for, and then split up among the membership.
We just highlight that piece a little bit, and Terry, well done. So 2 years ago, we brought in, and of course, from the committees and all that, we spent over $75,000 to address the cracks. The outside experts that we brought in pointed out everything that Terry mentioned to you that we've known. With that said, that $75,000, we were hoping for 3 years, if not 5, was what they said. But they did highlight that they weren't sure. The cracks have come back. Some now will tell me they're new cracks. We're gonna start taking pictures so we can compare year to year. They look like in the same areas to me. Thus now, and this is what Terry has put in for this, and credit to Terry and everybody else, a maintenance number for the cracks each year that we're gonna have to do. And I think, how much is it now? It's fluctuated, it was 30, how much is it?
36,000.
All right, so it's somewhere at 36, 40,000 now, which we've put in. And we're gonna need to do that. There is a misnomer out there. We heard this last year from the committees or whatever, or one pundit said that, there is no, maintenance for pickleball courts. That might be true other places, and I've certainly believed that, or to some degree, that's not the case here. And we've reflected that. Credit to Terry and everybody else.
Yes, Elaine.
I guess I'd like to express my thoughts on the racket sport because I know it's kind of controversial amongst some folks, and I'll be a little lengthy here, but just this is kind of my thought, and I could be wrong, and somebody can correct me at some point. I do understand that when certain new racket sports like pickleball and that sort of thing were introduced, I think we, as a community, we started out probably with just tennis because some of those sports had not even been a concept at that point. And so I think it's unfortunate at that time that every time a new racket sport was introduced, that we had a different set of rates. And I don't think anybody realized at the time that it will finally get to the point where we are now, where not only it becomes a operations nightmare to keep track of, but back then I think there were more tennis courts and we were just having one or two of the others and that sort of thing. But now we've expanded on those new sports. There are some like pickleball who can play year round because they take advantage of the basketball court. Some of the others can't. And I guess in my mind, I think of it more like, our swimming pools. We have different amenities, different, and everybody pays a certain rate to be a swim member. But some might only do laps, or some might only do other things. I might just sunbathe. They don't even get in the pool. But, we have different amenities at our different pools, and we don't charge different amounts for each of those. And I think, our racket sports has gotten to the point where whether you're going over there to hit a ball with a tennis racket or a pickleball or whatever else kind of, racket that you're using, in my view, I think we've just gotten to the point that it should be one type of membership, very similar to how we have our pools, where you've got an individual rate, you've got a family rate, that kind of thing. And, it may introduce some people to other sports, racket sports, that they really didn't try out because they didn't want to pay those extra fees. I think going to the one rate, at some point, we have to bite the bullet on that. We keep kicking that can down the road. It's going to continue to be a controversy over the years. I just think we have to bite the bullet. And, I don't look at the percentages on things. Just like we were talking, it's a tool, like it was with the marina, that kind of thing. When you're, some are touting, well, it's 25%, but yet 25% may only be $30 or $40 versus several $100s on a 10% bump on something, which is a whole separate thing from, I just think it's time to bite the bullet and go with a racket sport setup. And others may disagree with me, but that's kind of my feeling at this point.
So Lane, I'm sorry, Stuart, let me just, so Lane, certainly this room, and they're all whispering to me, total support. Nobody disagrees with anything you just said. So just feedback from this room. Thank you, Elaine.
Yeah, Monica?
I disagree with a multi-sport rate at this time. Just because one, when we talk about Sea Colony and all, that's like comparing a Mercedes to a Ford Escort. Okay, so I don't think we can even play in that arena when we're not comparing apples to apples. The other thing though is how many people come from the park and pay just to play paddle or just to play something that they can do. They can't do pickleball. They can't do tennis. So are we really going to risk cutting out this, 70 and upper age that get out of the park and start moving around? Look, I understand about the maintenance and the courts and things. And it sounds like we're right on track with that. And we have the renovations scheduled for the racket center building itself. But I think to go to this year at this amount, we would be shooting ourselves in the foot, especially with some of our older residents. Delaware's getting ready to open another park. You can go into Sea Colony, Ocean City, and you can say, hey, I want to reserve a court. And if I'm a non-Ocean City resident, that's going to cost me $6 for 2 hours. And
No,
Terry, if I'm wrong, let me know. But
no, that's off.
yeah,
No, that's off.
okay, okay.
That's way off.
But still, I just think doing this now at this point, we are going to eliminate.
Well, people can still
coming out of
pay.
the
If I
park
could,
area.
if I can interject, if we have people from the park that maybe only play once a week, and if they don't want to pay the membership rate, they could pay. We still have a very extremely reasonable drop-in fee. But if they're playing 30 times, 40 times a year, and they're paying, they are saving money by being a member. And having a member is not just playing; it's being part of those playing organizations' activities, their tournaments, their cookouts, the kinds of special activities that memberships draw in. So, and as far as being on track with costs, I have to say we're fighting uphill on that. We're not on track. We're actually behind. Give you an example. I brought out a very reputable playing surface company to do an estimate on the new cracks and the cracks that have come back on courts 9 and 10, which are hard courts. They're shared by tennis and pickleball, and the lower pickleball courts. I didn't even take them to the platform courts. The repair costs of those surfaces were $70,000. Now, if you listen to the budget, we have allocated $36,000. So now what am I saying? Which courts am I doing? Which am I not doing? So that's a safety issue. So, we have to be on top of this. These cracks and these repair is major, but it's also something that it's a safety issue that we have to budget for and plan for. I myself I'm in Florida for this month. I am paying $160 to play tennis this month, just for the month of January, $160 a month, and so a cost of $290 for the year to play a sport, any sport I want to, walking into that center is a bargain. My goodness, it's Sea Colony's costs are over $1,000. And you're still paying $20 every time you play on top of the membership.
Again, I don't think we could compare Sea Colony to and look, I think we have a great thing here. But in coming up with the numbers here, has anyone gone out to the people in racket sports and say, hey, how many of you play this? How many? And I know we have people jumping the sports. I get that. But did we do any numbers calculations on these numbers? Like how many people involved?
Well, we do have the numbers.
How many people for each one?
It's on here. The members.
It's on there.
Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hold on, Jeff is next.
Hey, Terry. the way I'm looking at this thing is, I mean, John Viola has hired department heads who, have expertise. And from what I am hearing, from your expert opinion is that you want a one price ticket for our racket sports center. And I think we ought to listen to you. We don't have a world-class platform center, a world-class pickleball center, a world-class tennis center. We have a world-class racket sports center. And I think we need to listen to you and consider this change you want to make.
You have to consider that Sea Colony is one of the top 10 tennis resorts in the United States of America. But I have to say, as far as Ocean Pines and all we offer, we are one of the best on the Eastern Shore. If I don't see another tennis center on the Eastern Shore of Maryland that can compare to everything we offer. But with that comes a cost.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So Jeff,
I gotta go to Monica
I'm
and then
with you and with Terry. There is a cost, and I understand that there's different ways for the board to go, for us to go. Everybody's right, whatever. The thing is that Steve and I were just talking, if we're looking at MO2, and we're looking at covering our expenses, even if we went to the individual memberships in this menu of all that stuff, it's still gonna basically come out to the same amount of revenue coming in. There might be slightly a little higher or lower to an individual, but there's not going to be this major difference. But we do got to look at it. We're in the business of one overall racket sports complex. It's not just pickle. Jeff summed it up perfectly, and Terry enhanced it. So that's where we're at here. The rest now, it's up to the board.
Monica.
Then I'd like us to consider a senior rate that, offer something for, I don't know what the age is. I'm not stepping into that right now, but
What's senior, Monica?
I'm senior. I'm a senior. But anyway, maybe we consider something like that.
Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah, I don't have a problem, frankly, with us offering a 3-sport rate, a 2-sport rate, or a 1-sport rate. I mean, I would think the consumers should be able to make that decision and opt for what works for them.
Don't we have a 7 sports or something in that center?
What?
How many? We have total of six sports, right, Terry?
Okay, I'm going by what's, platform, pickle, and tennis. That's what I'm going by.
Yeah, but there's 3 more that have started up.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, and so if we want to expand that to cover universe, that's fine. My recollection is when this started coming up last year, Terry's predecessor, if I'm not mistaken, made the point that raising the rates for platform and tennis
I'm not sure.
could lead us to lose platform and tennis players. And so, and even now, look at the 2025 rate, tennis pays more than both pickle and platform, although there's probably more pickleball players than anything. So I sort of, and I mentioned this to John earlier this morning, I hark back to his buzzwords, for lack of a better term, that we want to provide good customer service. And the customer should be able to decide whether they want to sign up for 1 sport, 2 sports, 3 sports, 6 sports, however many there are. And look, there's always going to be some people who are going to game the system. I get that. And I don't know that you could ever cut that off entirely anyway. But last year, the ruckus that blew up in our face was, the only way you could get on any court was if you signed up for 3 sports. And we had to backtrack and fill and change that. So I would, frankly, to the extent it's doable, I would give everyone as much choice as we can. Now, as to the rate, which I think is what Elaine is driving at, I don't see a problem because of the numbers. with ratcheting up pickleball to some degree. They don't necessarily have to match tennis, but if it's just based on usage, it's spread out over more people. I don't see a problem with that. And that might cover some of the revenue concerns that others have expressed, but I would prefer not to have to go back through what we went through last year, which was the board having to step in after the budget had been approved to reflect what the community wanted. Community does not want only a 3-sport membership. That's pretty clear. So I think we just have to give them as much choice as we can, because that's what we do for customers. That'd be my view.
If I could interject then,
Good.
if we were to work off of a balanced budget and distribute the costs to the people that play, and we have courts that are in dire need of repair, the courts that are used by pickleball and tennis, those courts 9 and 10 and the lower pickleball courts, if you divide 450 members approximately into 70,000, that would mean that on top of the membership that they paid last year, this is pickleball, on top of the $200, their membership would go up to $355.50. If we did that same logic to platform, resurfacing courts 1 and 2, just 2 courts, and repairing the cracks is $14,000. We divide that cost among the 80 the platform members. Their membership goes up to $375. That's what we're trying to say here. They're actually getting an incredible bargain
Deal. Everything.
for the cost.
Terry, if I can, just so I'm clear, what you're suggesting is, in order to cover the cost that the $70,000 that you've identified, this would require an increase in the rates of the $325 for the family for pickle, and the $325 for the family for platform, and the other categories below that to some degree. Is that correct?
If you were going to go if you were going to break out in the traditional methods, you would have the cost would go way up. If we're going to have just a pickleball membership, a tennis membership, and a platform membership, and that's what I'm trying to say is the way we're going is really a bargain for the players.
I would agree.
Well, you still have, I'm a little unclear as to what you're pushing for here. If what you're pushing for is the only way anyone could use any of the courts at the racket center would be if they buy a 3-sport membership.
I'd like to not call it a 3-sport membership.
Hold on.
I just would like to call it a racket center membership. You're a member of the racket center.
Okay.
No. Why not?
Okay, Elaine?
Yeah, I kind of like to come back to that, because I think, when we're talking about the expenses and that sort of thing, and if you look at the kind of monies that we've had to add to that complex, having a full-time manager, really, and now having almost a full-time maintenance person. In addition, one of the biggest costs are going to be the upgrading of the building, which for every single one of those sports down there is equal with all of the people. And I don't think we need to be calling it, because now there's 6 different sports down there. So we're not even talking about 3-sport thing. I just like the idea of having a racket sport membership. And I think to Monica's concern, and I do think that that's a valid one, that maybe under racket sports, we have a senior
Membership.
membership. So that people who probably can't play 3 to 4 times a week, they really can only come out once. But I think there's a lot of guessing going on that, just because somebody is playing tennis now that, because of the individual cost of each one, that they're just playing tennis, but that there may be some days they might want to go over and decide to play pickle or play platform or some of these other games. A lot of people from what we hear do that anyway behind the scenes. We're just not getting revenue from it. But that I don't know that they're so stuck. This gives our membership, and I think their families. I know as a kid growing up, my sisters and I loved to go up to the tennis courts and bat stuff around. We did that. We did, other kind of racket sports as well. You try different things, and I don't think that any of us can guess what others may decide to do if they have the open possibility of using any of those kinds of sports at some point, especially because it seems like every couple of years a new variation of some sport is coming up. Now there's a pop something and there's another one, and people are making up kind of new fun games that, to kind of liven things up. And trying to do it individually, I think it's an accounting nightmare. It's a management nightmare. I think at some point we have to bite the bullet on it. And I think this is the year we should probably look at it.
One second. I just want to make a statement. We hired a general manager that found Terry Ungerhoffler as the expert to run our racket sports facility. None of us have any experience running a racket sports facility. None of us. So I have to be honest with you. I have to listen to what the expert that runs the racket sports facility is recommending. If this is what he's recommending, maybe we can add in a senior membership. I have no problem with that. What do you think? Because
I'm not happy about it at this budget. We said we weren't going to do it this budget year. I just think, and even when we met with budget and finance, we didn't go there. We said,
well,
in the future.
John also said,
I understand.
Yeah.
So, I definitely would like to see a senior, because we have 503 individual memberships right now. Out of how many memberships total? So I think we're putting ourselves at some risk.
Well, can I just?
Yeah, I guess Steve.
Add to that? Look, I have no problem. However many sports there are. Pick a number.
It's 6.
Okay, give me 6. If someone wants to buy a 6-sport membership, they should be allowed to do that. I don't have a problem with that. I think the problem that we're not facing up to at the moment is what transpired last year, which was we inserted into last year's budget, this, you have to buy 3 sports. At that time, it was 3 sports, or you can't get on the court. And our residents objected. And there was enough noise about that we had to back and fill in order to change that. Now, you may be willing to face it again. That's up to you. That I'm not there. But all I'm saying is give the customer the opportunity to see what's available. They want to buy 6 sports, they want to buy 3 sports, whatever. Let them do it. That would give us, frankly, that would give us better history going forward than what we're guessing at right now.
Well, to your point, Steve, if we had, in addition to all the different memberships, another membership category of racket center membership that encompassed everything, and then we have individual sports and a senior membership, that would probably satisfy everybody here, right?
Yeah, if someone wanted to buy a racket center membership, I don't have a problem with that. And we would see in a year or two whether or not that's a growing number.
Whether that's sold or not.
Huh?
We would see whether or not we had any traction on
there's a market for it.
Okay. Instead of changing everything, we're talking about adding another category of a racket center membership.
Sure.
For X amount of money for everything, and then keeping the individual memberships for each individual and multi-sport. Is that doable?
It's really not changed. I mean,
I don't think it's changed from what it is.
That's what we have now.
No. I mean, if we have a racket center membership, you pay racket center and it's every sport.
You just add one.
You just added another membership category.
Yeah, we're complicated.
So-
I mean, Jeffrey,
So with this logic, if I just wanted to get a membership to the yacht club pool, could I do that?
No,
No. I can get an aquatics membership.
yeah, you can also make the argument of I joined the gym and I'm on there are circuits in the gym. There's different aspects of the gym, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I
Ask a question,
yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
John.
John,
Yes.
you all look alike to me.
Mother called me a lot of things. Terry, under the multi-sport membership that I'm looking at, do you foresee a decline or this membership dropping off precipitously? Because there's been a kind of little bit of little conversation around this, if they went to a model like this, it'll drop off and there'll be, there won't be as many people down there. Do you see a drop off of membership?
So.
Great question.
First of all, Terry, hold on.
Oh, thanks, John.
Look, obviously, we put in the pricing. First of all, it's a good question. I got this question last year on the beach parking. I was told, and honestly, I'm thinking about who it was on the board, but it doesn't matter, that if I raised the beach parking, or because it's we would lose a lot of permits or whatever. We actually increased it. It increased. We've gone forward with this, so we believe there won't be, but as it's like anything else, you're forecasting.
Right.
Here's what, if I'd like to step in, first of all, Terry, thank you, everything, and it's hard when you're not in the room with the rest of everybody. But if I may talk, Stuart, and the board is this, I'm looking for policy from the board. I'm looking for, do you agree that we should be trying to, at minimum, cover our operating costs? If so, this is what we brought forward. We were asked to do a single. We can also do the multiples. We did that at B&F. But the bottom line, it's going to come out to the same revenue and it's going to be the same type of increases to the individuals. If I stay that course and try to do that over 3 years, like I said at the beginning, I need to know from the board, unless you want to dictate it, which I'm fine with, exactly how you want to do this. But if the policy is, and across the board with all the amenities, that we're trying to, at minimum, cover our operating costs, this is what our approach is. We can do it with singles. There's still going to be an increase if we do it by different sport.
Right.
Now, I get it with the pickleball, but by the time we put in this building renovation, and I've said this before, it's over 700,000 over the last several years that we've put into that, and rightfully so. The bulk of it kind of is pickleball, to be honest with you, with the new courts and all that stuff. So it kind of balances out. To me, and I've heard what Jeff said and all of you, and I agree with a lot of things everybody said, but it's a racket center. And the issue and the reason it's so difficult to try to come up when you try to individualize it is because in reality, we're in the racket center business, not the individual tennis or pickleball or the platform, which has expanded into 4 sports. So that's what we have. We'll march and do whatever you all want. That's pretty much what we have.
Elaine.
Well, I'd like to hear from the manager exactly what you feel is best for the racket center. You're the expert. You deal with the members on a day-to-day, get feedback from them. I mean, I'd like to hear what your honest opinion is. What do you think is in the best interest of both Ocean Pines and our members? Because I think that both are very important for us to know. So
Elaine, he has said, you do want him just to summarize it again, which is fine.
Yes, please.
I thought he did answer this, but good. Just summarize, Terry, for them, please.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to summarize?
Sure. I think when you're, I understand both sides. I'm retired myself. I understand the costs, but in that, I also have played tennis and played sports and been involved in sports since 1970. The cost, I am being a coach, being a teacher all my life. I believe in providing safe environments for people to play in and maintaining those environments, maintaining those environments means parking, means security, means fencing, means courts, means bathrooms and facilities for people to congregate in and hold events. Those all factor in. I just look at the costs. I look at the costs of everything, and I saw what they proposed for one price, and I know what the cost would be if we kept it with 3 sports and projecting out what those 3 sports would be if we added the cost of maintenance into those costs. And I thought when it came back to me with $295 or something like that, I thought that was quite the bargain. And I don't look at it as 1 sport, 2 sports, 3 sports. I look at it as, you have people that are always going to have people that just play tennis. They're going to show up and just play tennis. You're going to have people that just show up, play pickleball, but they still walk through those doors and they still are on courts that we pledge to be safe. And, the parking lot, we pledge that to be a safe environment. And we pledge that those bathrooms are going to be safe and clean. And all those costs have gone up dramatically over the years. And how do we project those out over time? We're talking about a year, not a monthly cost of $295, a year's cost. I think it's incredibly fair. And if people that are in their 80s only play maybe 3 or 4 times a month, and maybe they pay as they go. If I was a swim member, or if I only go into the pool 4 times a year, I wouldn't I wouldn't get a swim membership. I just wouldn't. It wouldn't be worth it for me. But for us to maintain our quality, and our quality being one of the best in the area on the Eastern Shore, I think we have to keep these numbers in. We have to keep these numbers in mind, that this is what we have to do, where we have to go.
That's a good summation.
Yeah, it is. Can we take a vote as a board because I think.
John.
I just go about it and a little bit unrelated, Terry, because I think we're getting ready to get, talk a little bit deeper to this. As a side, are you happy with the new facility and what's going on there, and you feel that is what you need as the leader of that Racket Sports Center?
I think, John, I'm pretty happy. I am happy with the direction everything is going in. I'm going to use the word direction. Remember, I've been employed there and working there since 2015, and so I have experienced myself several kinds of managers, but I've also witnessed the site itself is over 40 years old. The courts are over 40 years old, and
Terry,
so that direction.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Right, Terry, thank you. I believe you summarized it. I believe Terry has done more than whatever. I got to tell you, I assemble the team, I assemble the experts, I make them accessible, more so than ever before. But it's getting to the point where that's all I'm going to say. We've given you the summary. We will do whatever the board says. It came from this office, the GM office. I summarized it for you. Want to put him on the spot? Continue to put him on the spot.
Yeah.
We don't know what else to
I don't think
say.
we were actually putting him on the spot. These were constructive
that's fine. And
questions.
that's been established. You didn't put him on the spot. He has told you. I have told you. This room has. Whatever you want, we'll do. We've given you all the answers. Whatever you want. We don't have anything else we can tell you.
Gotcha, John.
Terry, you good? Okay, and you got to understand, they're the experts. But
Terry, thank you.
There's so far you can take. Stuart, if you're going to cut me off, then I'm done.
No. I'm just saying, we've heard you. You've mentioned it more than once. Terry, if this seemed like we were putting you on the spot, this was not the intent. These were just questions. We were asking the expert what his opinion was. Please don't take it like that because it wasn't meant like that
Yeah.
at all.
Exactly.
No, I'm just very passionate about the operation and what goes on there and the future.
And we appreciate that.
Listen, thank you for everything that you do there, honestly. I'm down there all the time with my dog at the dog park. My God, the place is packed all the time. You're doing something right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Sorry if I repeated, Stuart, but you did repeat the question numerous times, so. All right, we're all good now. We await instruction from the board.
Gotcha.
If you need more
This is for us.
information, we'll definitely give it to you. Terry, you good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Terry.
John, before we continue on, us as a board has come to a consensus with our racket sports, okay? This is what we want to do. We want to do a one membership for the racket center for family at $495, individual at $295. I want you to come up with an over 70 racket center membership price. And what's our drop-in fee?
So just to give you some stats or whatever, we actually mentioned about this senior discount, and I was even talking about it yesterday. The age we had was different. 70 pretty much, you might as well do it because 70 encompasses
A lot of them.
the term I hear is a lot, because I did ask that. What was the age for the senior that we were looking at?
80.
They were thinking 80, but again, that's the board, that's the feedback here. That's the feedback I got when I asked that. If you want 70.
Let them decide.
So, all
How many
right,
people over there can play? I mean, you want 70, we'll do 70. That's the feedback in here.
what do you recommend?
Yeah.
You work for us. Tell us what you recommend.
Right. I like that. I like that, at a different time. All right, let us do this. And Stuart, this is actually what I think you said in the beginning. Let us run the numbers. We are looking at, what we said about covering operating costs and everything. Let us look at that and we'll come back with a recommendation today. I have a bunch of other meetings.
Right. I still have another thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
The individual drop-in rate, whatever that is now, we wanted to cover another $10,000. So you come up with a rate that will cover that.
Okay.
Right? So
All right, so
we're
whatever
gonna
rates
move
in
on
that
from racket sports.
Yeah,
Oh, and
10,000.
tell them about the juniors. Get rid of
Oh,
that.
and there's no more junior membership.
No more junior membership? Okay, hold on. Write that
Terry's
down.
gonna disagree with that because they have a lot of juniors that are coming in to learn pickleball.
So Terry,
There's
Linda,
only
and I know
7 on the
Terry,
back.
so is he still up there? So wait, so let me
He's only
answer
budgeting
this. May I answer the thing on the juniors? Terry, since I met Terry, at one time he was trying to get separate tennis courts with grants for juniors. Terry's big on the juniors. Ruthann,
There is an instructor down there that is teaching kids. And they're hoping that those lessons flow into memberships, just like.
so that's kind of, I'm not sure why
Okay.
you all came up with that, but we'd like to keep that.
Okay, well, I only saw that there were 4 projected. That's why.
Right.
But if you feel
Oh, that's
that
a good
this
point.
is something
That's a
that
good
needs to
point,
stay,
Stuart.
then keep it.
Yeah.
If you feel that it needs to stay, then keep it.
He's got, thank you, Stuart. Thank you, board. Yeah, he's big on that. I know he's trying to grow it. You're right when you say 4, I get it. All right, we're gonna work up those numbers for the board today. Ruth
Fair
Ann has
enough.
another question. I'm sorry, Ruth Ann keeps raising her hand.
Yeah, Ruth.
Yeah, if you do a senior discount for racket sports, are you prepared to do it for all the other amenities? Because that'll be the first question.
That's a good question.
Through the senior rate.
I'm
Meredith's
sorry.
gonna withdraw her senior rate then. Everybody heard.
It'll be
I
asked
think we
for the
set you up on that one.
I think for Plymouth is different because you don't.
We're gonna hold it. We're gonna defer the senior rate.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, board. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, board. All right, with that said, I have Michelle Hitchens in the, anything else? You guys good? Ladies good? I have Michelle Hitchens here, so it must be aquatics time. Aquatics. Huh? Number 14.
Hi, Michelle. 14.
And Steve's gonna jump in and read the numbers. Linda's, working on something else. And then, Michelle will give you her overview and then we'll answer questions. Pricing is incorporated also, just like racket sports.
Okay, total revenues, gross revenues, 1.177 million. That includes an increase in the dues, 10% for resident, 20% for non-residents. Daily fees, we propose a $2 increase to the dailies. That's where the number goes up from 405,000 to 500,000. So you can see that $2 is worth about $95,000. On the expenditure side, we had some payroll increases due to the cost of the senior lifeguards and the CPOs. So that went up about $65,000. Services and supplies, inflationary costs, 144,000 versus 127. Utilities is actually down. Actually, we had some favorable rates with our locked-in contracts on gas, the natural gas at the sports court. So we were able to take that down to $154,000. And you can see that we got $1.154 million total cost, net operating of just about breaking even.
All right, thank you, Steve. Michelle, anything you want to add?
Well, the biggest thing with this budget is the pay rates. We did raise pay rates to accommodate for all the other businesses that are around here. They pay their lifeguards a little bit more. And I'm really trying to keep the guards we have now because they're really good guards and to keep guards coming in to work for us.
Right, so that's in addition to the statutory increases, which we've talked about. And again, just proving on both ends, whether it's revenue or expense, we do benchmark against anybody else out there. So that's factored in also. Questions?
Anybody have any questions? Stephen?
Yeah, I go to school 2-3 times a week. We got a great bunch at the front desk. The lifeguards are great. I see Michelle working like a dog in the lobby and everywhere. I mean, it's really good operation now. I want to just raise a couple of things that I have heard about. Just, I'm passing it on just for your information. Some people were upset over the fact that some classes had been canceled because they didn't meet the minimum registration number, even though session after session, drop-ins more than cover it. I don't know the answer. My thought would have been to say, you know, when you publish the schedule, you know, we need 6 registrants, and if in 2 weeks we don't have enough, then we have to cancel the class, something like that. But, you know, frankly, I don't know why people drop in when they show up every week, but that's what they do. And so some people were upset about the fact that classes were canceled, passing it on for what it's worth. The other thing I would suggest is, if it's at all possible, set your classes up so that they begin and end in the same on the same time. Some people have complained about the fact that, you know, you got one class ended 1 week and another class ended 2 weeks later, and there's makeups in this week but not on that week, and that sort of thing. Again, I think it's sort of small potatoes, but I just pass it on from what I could, take it for what it's worth.
So when it comes to the classes and certain amount not being there, it is in the guide with certain classes that there has to be so many participants. And that was kind of the older way of doing it. They didn't include the drop-ins, but at this point we are including the drop-ins. So the classes aren't really getting canceled due to that factor. Other than the classes schedule, it kind of depends on when the instructors, because some of the instructors make their own schedule. And that's the only reason why that occurs. Most of the classes are on the same consistent schedule, and they normally take a break in between each session to do makeups if they need it. But some of the instructors do have certain dates where they include taking off, and that's what it messes up that system when it comes to those type of classes.
Yeah, not only that, but it takes a lap away from the lap away. Big problem. No, okay, that's fine.
At 5.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just got a question and Michelle, and looking here, maybe it's right here in front of me, but the daily the daily fee that went to 12, was it like 15 or so for non-resident? Was there a higher rate for if you were not Ocean Pines resident?
Yeah, it's 15 for non-residents for adults, 13 for children. So then they raised it to 12 for residents now and 10 for children residents.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. I just didn't see it right here.
Everything went up $2. Everything went up, and I know it comes up, and it's come up on all of them, so in overview of all the amenities where we increase prices, the outside has either been increased or is always higher. But we'll answer all those questions wherever you want.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Hitchens? I have a question. I've had some people that have approached me about doing classes like outside at Mumford's Pool or something. Is that something that's being considered?
Yeah, we did it before and then it was stopped a couple of years ago, but we're actually starting to look up for stuff this summer in general, and I was gonna try and get some more out there. It just too, we also did group lessons out there too, so it can only be on certain days that exercise classes can be, and then we also do group lessons out there too.
Okay, and we have a full complement of lifeguards anticipated for this season?
Right now, we're pretty good. I got most of the guards coming back. There's just a few that are like either having to do internships or are graduating college, but that's not even a handful of kids. Plus, we're doing a research or a full lifeguarding class in first week of May to get new ones coming in too. So I have to start doing job fairs and stuff to incorporate some people.
The only other thing I have to say is that I have nothing but real positive stuff that's been said about you guys at Aquatics. I haven't heard anybody really talk any negative at all. You guys are doing it. You're killing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Michelle?
Oh, I do.
John?
Yeah.
Oh, is the snack bar alcohol permit that we have in there, is that something new this year that we're gonna give a try?
You want it or not?
I'll do it.
So that is, I know this has come out interesting. We got some questions on info. Michelle would like to give it a shot. We've given it a go ahead on it. We're gonna give it a shot.
It would only be
Sounds
certain
good.
things, of course. We
Right.
can only do so much because we can't have the glass, we have to do canned stuff, so we're gonna keep it to a minimum amount of what we can serve.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? That's it. Thank you, Michelle.
And then we got beach
All right,
parking.
thank you.
Beach parking.
Beach parking, I think we're gonna keep Michelle here for beach parking.
Number 21.
21 reports into Michelle.
21. 21. Each vote.
Beach park.
But honestly, beach parking speaks for itself. Put the permits out there. They sell. So there is a pricing increase. Who's gonna discuss that?
So we had a 10% in there. That was worth about $45,000. You can see the proposed parking revenue of $508,690. The lease revenue, the lease goes up 3% each year. That's $147,321 for a total of $656K in revenues. Based on our trending of this year's wages and benefits, you can see that number went down about $20,000. Services and supplies similar at 14 and change. Same with other costs. So our net operating profit is approximately $608,000.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm sorry. Any question, John?
Hey, Steve, just as a reminder, the lease revenue is the secrets revenue, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The parking lot.
Gotcha.
Parking lots.
Steve, how
Perfect,
many,
thank
John, I think when the question is, when are those leases up, Steve? How many more years?
So it's not this coming year, but the following year, I believe, 26.
Okay. Any other questions about parking? Wish everything did like parking. Yes. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Michelle, great.
Thank you.
Great job, Michelle. Thank you. What's next? Who's out there? We got golf. We got two gentlemen out there that have been waiting for a while. All excited to come in and talk about golf maintenance and golf operations. What number for golf, Ruth Dan?
15.
15.
It's golf combined, golf maintenance, it's, number 16.
I know.
There.
So we have combined golf. Golf operations. All right, so let's start with golf maintenance. What's it? Page for that?
That's 16.
16.
15 and 16.
15. Okay, so we're gonna go, right, Stuart said it's 16. Let's start with maintenance. We have Justin here. Justin, what are you?
No, so we gotta. Yep, I'm just, we're trying to just be as efficient as we can down there. You know, we were working on, looking at payroll numbers. We actually, got rid of one position this year. We've been pretty efficient. You know, so just looking at ways that we can kind of save some money, make sure we keep making money, but also maintain, exactly what we're looking for out there. And I made some adjustments to chemicals, fertilizer. We're looking at adding a little bit in some areas there. So I think that number goes up a little bit. But yeah, overall, you know, we've made a lot of nice, I think, changes operationally that have helped us out. And obviously with a lot of our just capital and equipment stuff that we've been keeping an eye on over the last few years and replacing, it's certainly made things run a lot smoother. So we're just going to try to continue that trend. Yeah, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for me, Steve?
And just a quick, and John already knows about this. The golf committee has expressed a little bit of concern about number 16 and the bulkhead in front of the green. Is that going to be repaired, or is it okay, or what the status is, or?
So you are right, and Justin, you do know about it. So does Bob, right? So I have received this. We are looking at it. I have spoken to Nobi and Eddie. We are going to try to address that this winter. However, where we believe the bulkhead should expand to is a little different from what the golf committee says.
Okay.
I will talk to the golf committee on that, or Bob will, but I will certainly be a part of it. I had mentioned it to them. Yes, we're going to address it as soon as we have the resource available. The people that do that are going to be doing the bridge for us and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It just may not go out as far as they think it should.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, we have it on the list, Steve.
Any other questions? I don't know if this is under golf maintenance, but that shack over by the parking lot that is that finished?
On the heating shack.
The heating shack?
So
We're gonna
wait,
do
heating shack. So wait, I think.
Yeah,
the-
we're doing the
wait,
lessons.
The pump station, wait, Stuart, the pump station over there on 9? Which shack?
No,
Oh,
I'm
I know,
talking about-
are you talking about the driving range? I'm sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a
Driving.
shack. The driving
Sorry.
range, yeah, so the driving range,
The structure.
the structure, okay.
It was the shack.
I know what you're talking about.
It's basically done, yeah.
Okay, Bob Eckelman says to me that it's done, therefore it's done. I have been talking to Matt. Matt is very pleased. There is some painting, some type of work. We will say it's done with some fine tuning, and everybody's happy. Bob, you happy?
Okay, we'll not refer to it as the shack
Bob's
anymore.
happy. No shack.
No shack.
By the way, Bob wants to tell everybody that the original building, he built it, right? You built it?
Buddy says.
Buddy Sass and him built it. Bob
Nice.
said he did
Nice.
the bulk of the work, though.
That wasn't
Yeah.
a shack though, was it? That wasn't a shack, right?
It's not a shack now. Okay, and as you know, when we'll talk about it later, we do receive, Lisa, correct, always is. Any other questions for Justin? If you all just scroll down to the bottom line, you can see how efficient there are efficiencies. The increase in the budget for it really isn't that much, considering what's going on down there.
Yeah.
Compliment to the team. and the leader. All right, the board's okay. I'd like to move on to operations. I know we have at 2:00 and I have kind of double booked.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, Stuart. All right, golf operations, Bob Beckelman. Was that 15?
Yeah, 15.
Yes. 16.
16?
16.
16,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, 15 is Bond. Sorry about that.
It's golf
Sorry.
maintenance.
I'm backwards.
15.
15, sorry. I'd
We
like
got
to.
small pass combined.
15 or
Just want to save on the tab.
Yes, we did.
Now that's combined golf.
Okay, Bob, so please make sure you're on the golf operations, probably 3 or 4 pages in. Somebody saved on a,
Yeah.
tab. All right, Bob,
There
let's
it
go.
Okay, so we are, we're looking forward to another good year of golf. We've raised, daily fees, we've raised, membership fees. We're looking for those to have a corresponding increase in revenues. Pretty much in all departments. Our expenses are not going to change much. The golf course conditions, the operation that we're running has been increasing the number of rounds through package companies, public play, resident play. We're going to continue marketing to those areas to increase rounds. So we're looking forward to an increase in revenues, basically with increases of fees and an increase, small increase in number of rounds.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Beckelman?
Thank you, Bob.
No.
Okay.
So just some
All I
highlights,
know is-
please. Can I just, some highlights on that? You can see his revenue numbers, our revenue
Yes.
numbers, the merchandise. That was one of the things when I interviewed Bob. He said he could definitely bring that pro shop to another level. He's getting there. Definitely, I've been pleased every year as everybody else. The rest was pricing. We do have increased memberships operating on all cylinders.
The one thing I want to mention is, and I said this last budget cycle to Bob, in 2022, our total revenue is $1,466,000. We're almost $500,000 above that year. You've done an incredible job. Your team, Justin, the entire golf ops, it's like you are the economic engine that fires this whole operation. That's what keeps our assessments low. You guys are killing it. I just wanted to tell you, and as anybody could speak for 7 people here, thank you.
Our pleasure.
Okay.
As Ruth Ann said, it's been a team effort, with you guys, general manager, maintenance,
There you go.
everybody, all our support. Been great.
And thank you, Bob. Golf's definitely pride of this team, as well as every other department.
Anybody have any questions for Bob or the team? I have one question. What's the best grass seed for my lawn? I have 3 that shades a lot of shade, and I have problem growing grass.
It's tough. Yeah, you bought a tree, it's gonna be difficult, yeah.
Outsource that.
Yeah.
It's called grow moss.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Who's next?
Food and beverage 17.
Food and beverage is next?
Yeah, food and beverage. 17.
Well, that's good news.
I have one thing.
Right.
This will be short.
This one.
Really?
Just the summary. We didn't break it out, you didn't want the
Right,
details.
summary.
Well, they're separate. They're all separate. Yeah, club,
Okay.
beach club and grill.
What are we gonna do first?
Oh, there was a summary.
18 has the clubhouse grill.
18?
Mhm.
You get-
Okay, so
Clubhouse?
next, you guys will hear me. So next up is food and beverage. I drew the short straw in this room.
Pretty much.
President,
It's under the departmental
tab
summary.
1.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
tab?
it's under the departmental summary.
1, second page.
Yeah.
Tab 1, so you have a tab 1, second page. It's under the departmental summary. Look on the bottom, let me know if you have it.
Oh, yeah. There it is. Green.
You see, you have it?
Right.
Okay, so when you're all ready, I'll start.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Good. Okay, gotta be honest with you on this, and I've heard a lot of different things, and the progress actually had this one right. They did hear what I said in B and F. Obviously, we have not selected a vendor yet. There is a meeting today at 2:00. And we'll know more after that. In the meantime, as the progress rightfully wrote, the team, the GM, we had to come up with a budget, which we did. I'm gonna basically go through it the same way, our approach that we did and the way we explained it to B and F. So if you look on the bottom of the departmental summary, there is 3 columns for food and beverage, which lists all 3 venues.
Okay.
What we did was based upon what we saw as actuals last year, the year we've already closed out. We took that information. We took information at 2 levels of sales, one being 6 million, which we have not achieved. But from talking to different experts, it is possible. So we ran numbers on estimates, guesstimates for 6 million, which is the far right column. We had the middle one where we took the 4.7 million, which the outside vendor did achieve. And we ran numbers based upon margins and what we believe at this time. We went with the middle number, Steve. We went with the middle number, which is the right thing to do. That is what I presented to Budget and Finance. They were okay with it. Obviously, the board, we're here to hear what you say on it. Yes, we will have, hopefully this afternoon, more information. Whether that number is tweaked or not, we're gonna find out in the next couple hours, hopefully. Right now, this is the number we're going with. This is what we believe we can do. With that said, putting it in perspective, if you go back to what I spoke about this morning on where we are versus the prior year budget, when we look at the food and beverage operating budget last year, and we look at this number, that would have an $18 favorable effect on this budget versus last year. That's where we're at. That's what we're going with. Obviously, if something happens or transpires, based upon what happens in the next X amount of hours, we'll adjust accordingly. Questions? We used margins. We used the 4.7, which has been achieved.
Start off this.
A couple different assumptions.
First presentation games.
Yeah. We'll know in a couple of hours.
Yep.
You said we did achieve 4.7.
Yeah, 4.7 we did.
Okay.
6 we never did.
Okay, yeah, that's, yeah, 6 is a stretch target.
All right then. No questions for John on food and beverage?
Nope.
We'll know more in a couple hours.
Is cover the clubhouse and the yacht club as well?
Yeah.
Each club.
All three venues.
Yeah.
Check them off.
I think that's a pretty.
Yeah, are we going to be having any food over at the swimming racket club? John?
She has some like, she already has, hot dogs, pizza. You're not gonna be able to get major stuff, but there is some type of food there, yes.
Did that go into the food and beverage budget or is aquatics?
No, that's separate. That's aquatics. It's small. I did not include that in the RFPs either. Obviously, if we think there's an opportunity down the road, whatever, we'll talk to the vendor. But no.
Okay.
Aquatics. Small.
Okay. Let's move on to replacement, new capital, Steve, I guess.
Is
there capital?
All right, so we take what tax, capital.
23.
23. Hey, Linda's coming in, she's multitasking.
Together.
Linda pretty much handles all the capital reports with Eddie and Steve. Okay,
You have the normal for aquatics, the cat controller, handicap chair, inverter, pool vacuum and pool furniture. They're added every year for the just in case anything goes up during the season. Pool furniture is the allocation that started a couple years ago regarding the instead of replacing the furniture, we get them restrapped, and it does save Ocean Pines money. Concrete pad for monthly cleaning pool is new at 10,340. It's just an area that's crumbling and they're going to extend it a little further. As far as golf maintenance, we do have due for the DMA study a grounds minister, the John Deere, also the golf course irrigations added as well for 900,000. The golf course bridge, fourth fairway, as discussed at the board meeting last month, and the pavement of the golf maintenance yard. The police are getting a new vehicle, as mentioned earlier, at 65,595. Public Works has a Ranger. They actually extended that out a couple years, but it is due for replacement at 53,150. Racket Center does have pool furniture for 9,500, court bench replacement for 2,350, and proposed shade structure, which would be new capital at 22,000. And then we do have a baseball scoreboard over at Manklin for 5,200.
the details behind it and the.
Yeah, the details are behind it if you need any further information.
And then also the schedule of all the reserves that tie into the balance sheet.
Any questions? No. Pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Steve, and of course Eddie on this entire team. What's next?
Action items.
Reserve contribution.
Reserves, yeah, reserves.
Right.
Okay, reserves. You can do reserves.
23.
Steve still has a piece that he has to do. Steve.
Yeah, so I'll tie in the reserve account, which is tab 23. And probably the easiest way to understand the full picture is the second page, which is the roll forward. It takes us back to the end of the audit, this past fiscal year end. You can see that we had $7.105 million in our reserve accounts, $5.530 million in the general replacement. We contributed $2.629 million from the operating assessment. We had some transfers for the vet memorial, $70,000. That was the pavilion. We had a $36,000 transfer that was for the soft shoreline project. So we received some monies from Coastal Bays, which was a grant from the state. You can see the interest income. This is an estimate for the year. We're estimating $700,000, still rather conservative number, but we know we can attain the $700,000 given our current investment vehicles that we have. We had $450,000 in casino funds this year. You're going to see down below that we upped that to $500,000 that we believe we're going to recognize. And then in terms of our expenditures, $2.7 million in replacement. We're at about 1.9 through November. We still have the racket center renovation, and we also have the golf irrigation to hit here in the back half for the last 4 months of the year. So you can see that puts an estimate coming into the budget year of about 6.5 million and some change. You can see that we took our contributions up in general replacement. So that's going up significantly in order to replenish our balance, become aligned with the reserve study contribution. We're taking that up to $1.830 million. Bulkheads, with the bulkhead differential increase, we also reduced the common area, the common owners assessment from $25 down to $15. That comes to $1.002 million. For next year, interest income that we're transferring over is $500,000. Like I said, for the casino funds, $500,000. And then our spend ties out to what Linda presented, $1.194 million. And then we have the new capital, which is the police cruiser and the shade structure. Thank you. So actually we get back to a balance estimated at the end of the budget year of almost $7.4 million.
So Steve, and thanks, Steve, so it's pretty, very thorough. As I mentioned in the beginning, and I've mentioned over the last several months, we are building up those reserves. Steve, when you look at the replacement column, and you have a schedule that you do for us, and we've been doing it since DMA back in whatever it was, 2017, what percentage will that leave us at, the percentage that everybody knows about? Will we try to be between 22 and 28? What are we forecasting at the end of this budget?
At the end of this budget, we'll be up at the upper tier, close to 28%.
So we'll be closer to the 28. Now, obviously, when DMA comes in, there's different methods that we will be exploring. My point here is that we've kept within the guidelines approved or recommended by BNF back in 2017, I believe it was, and the policy set by the board. So we are there, even with all the spend, as you've all pointed out, constructive spend. We've been able to keep our reserves there for DMA.
Any questions for John?
Yep.
Hey, John, and probably mostly for the folks that are maybe listening that may or may not be aware that when you talk about the bulkheads, the roads and the drainage, as you talked about a little bit earlier, they are part of the strategic plan. So it's not there's a plan for that for 3 to 5 years or something that's kind of out there. I know I've seen it online. So it's so we just don't kind of willy-nilly pick it. There is a plan for those dollars.
There's always a plan, there's always analysis, correct. And there is a binder for the roads, our ratings, just like with the bulkheads, correct.
Any other questions for John? Any comments? I just have a comment. The general, with all of our reserves, the way we are sitting, we're sitting pretty darn good. And we're maintaining infrastructure. We're building new buildings. We're maintaining everything. We're paving roads, funding police department, fire department, and still our assessments going to be $875. You can't live in a better place for the money that we pay. You guys are doing a great job.
Yep. So it's a team effort. Thank you, Stuart. You basically have pretty much what we've been saying, correct. I do want to add that to one item to that. The fire department, which was coming up probably in a year and a half, assuming on the referendum, that's a big number that if we self-fund or even if we go out and borrow, has a big number on the reserves. And we're just trying to factor that in over the next X amount of years. More about that next year, though. But thank you.
Any more questions for John?
That's pretty good.
Okay, not too bad on timing. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Great job, John.